TV.
What's going on?
Man, another episode. Let's go.
So today we're going to talk about a conversation you and a friend had earlier this week
All
about
right, let's do it.
men and women who can't be friends. So for anybody that's watching on Instagram, go ahead and click the link in the bio and then even on our story on Instagram, and then you'll be able to join this conversation. So the conversation, we've already got somebody queued up ready to join, but the question is, can men and women really be friends? So want to get your take.
We all know the answer to that.
Let's hear, what's your opinion?
Hell no. They
Why do you
can't
say
be
that?
friends. There's no way.
Why do you say that?
It's just the dynamic. Men and women. If you're
Hey, but before you do that really quick, let me go ahead and bring in someone that wants to hop on.
Let's do it.
What's going on?
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Doing good.
So let's hear your thoughts on the topic.
Oh, geez. Okay, let me get my headphones and get in a place where I can talk. I didn't expect all this. I was just like, oh, he's doing a live. Okay. So give me a sec.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, if you can, put your camera up. If you can.
So we got a comment on Instagram saying, "See love, Metro PCS isn't truly working. It's rather shaky."
Somebody's talking about my service?
I guess, yeah. It's a little glitchy.
I don't know why it is.
Let me see how we're looking on YouTube. Let's see.
How's it look, Zach?
I'm gonna check. See what it looks like on YouTube. Yeah. Mine looks good. But yeah, anybody that's watching on Instagram, click the link in our bio or the link in our story, and then you'll be able to join and share your thoughts. But while we're waiting on her, and then just send a message in the private chat, Shara, if you will, and then we'll bring you on, unless you're ready right now.
Okay, I am here. There's lots of things going on upstairs. I just did dinner, and we're watching a movie. Family.
Oh yeah, nice.
So I did the gym today.
There you go.
So what's your thoughts on the topic? Can men and women be friends, in your opinion?
Oh man. I mean, that's a hard one. I mean, I think on a guide level, there is going to be some kind of crush there, right? They always say, no, men they're talking to you for a reason, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say I do have guy friends, but I like to have a guy's perspective on certain things, you know? So it's very surface level friendship.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess the question I would ask C-Love, and I would ask anybody, but whichever side people fall on in this discussion, is how do you define a friend? Because I would say a friend is different than an acquaintance. I would say a friend is somebody that you talk to almost every day. A friend is somebody that you go hang out with on a regular basis. That's what I would consider a friend. Now, someone who's like an acquaintance, I would say that's normal to have men and women as acquaintances.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, by that definition, how do you guys define friend?
Yeah, so I'm in line with what you said. A friend is somebody that you talk to, pretty much on a regular basis, right? Somebody that you would hang out with, one on one. Somebody that knows kind of like intimate things about your life, and an acquaintance is somebody that's kind of surface level, right? Maybe the relationship isn't that deep with an acquaintance compared to a friend. So I'm in line with your definition of it, and by that definition, I just don't see how men and women can be friends without it
Right
turning into something more.
on that deep surface level. Yeah.
So that's kind of your position as well.
Yeah, because there's different levels.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
we appreciate you for hopping on. We've got someone else that just clicked
I did
on as
not
well.
I did not expect all this, but
Oh,
hello.
well, hey, well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I always try to like watch your stuff and be like, oh, he's doing a live, or I thought it was just gonna be like a live Instagram with not me, but other people, because I always like
Yeah.
to see what you talk about and the subjects you bring up.
Hey,
Yeah.
we
We
definitely we
appreciate it.
definitely appreciate your contribution. We're trying to step it up a notch and get it on YouTube. Trying to transition from IG to here, but we definitely appreciate you coming on for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. You'll
Yeah.
still be able to watch on Instagram if you click the live logo on there. It'll show it there, and then you'll be able to see everything there, or on YouTube. So we appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, but the whole friendship thing is like again, you have to like set those boundaries and only let it come to a certain surface level. It's a thin line, especially when you're married. You're married, you're in a relationship with
hmm
somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So my question would be for somebody that thinks, you think men and women can be friends or couldn't? I couldn't remember which side you on.
I mean, it's just yeah, yes and no. Remember like that a certain level that you can take them to that certain level and then that's it.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you. All
Cool.
right.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
There is my thought. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All
Awesome. We'll see you.
right.
Okay.
Thank
Cal-
thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right.
Okay, we've got Justin. Let's go ahead and get Justin ready to hop on here.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
We can hear you. We just can't see you.
Okay, give me a second. Yeah, I can start here. I was going for a walk for a minute.
No,
I'll
it's all
try my
good. It's all good. Yeah.
yeah. But it's good seeing y'all again.
Yeah.
I would
Thank you for
say
hopping on.
with the question, can men would be friends? I think they can. I don't know how this is. I think there's a lot of assumptions being made here. And I don't know why we're like, because this question is very, you know, played out. I'm just like, we see it all the time. I mean, I see all the time. Personally, I think okay, like you're saying, in terms of no longer friends. If one person in that predicament likes the other person, then it's no longer friendship, right? Because they might have ulterior motives. I could see that, but then what if like y'all both not attracted to each other, but y'all still cool people, like y'all like each other's personalities, y'all rock with each other, you know, y'all hang out, y'all might not talk about every little intimate thing as you would with like somebody of like the same gender, but
Hmm.
it's not like surface level. So
Oh, he's got your service, C Love. Well, while we're waiting for it to come back on, we got a comment here that says, Google friend, a person whom one knows and whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations.
Okay. Technical. The question then should be:
based on
can men
technical,
and women
I
be
know
best
plenty of.
friends?
I know plenty of friends. It's decreased now. A lot of um girlfriends, but um yeah, based on the technicality, I'm like, yeah. I
Um,
think we're just assuming like what can we like talk about the assumptions? That's what I'm curious about. Like, what do
Okay.
you recognize the assumptions that you're making with this question? When you say no, like what are you assuming?
When I say no, I'm saying that the natural male female attraction, if we're friends and we're spending more time together, we're talking to each other, we're confiding in each other, that would naturally create a romantic attraction over time.
Don't
Make
we
it
see
hard
married
to be just
couples?
friends.
But
Even
don't
if
we
you
see
start
married
off with
couples all
like,
the
oh, we're just
time?
cool. Huh?
We see married couples all the time who are not sexually intimate. They talking with each other. They're living with each other. They're not sexually intimate at all. Like that's just I'm just trying to. That's a contradictory like example. I'm not saying that fits it because obviously they're married, but I'm just saying there's plenty of marriages where they're not sexually engaging with one another, but they're still
Well,
interacting daily.
well, usually when that happens, there's something wrong with the marriage, I would say. In most cases, if a couple's
There,
not.
there, there is something wrong with the marriage, but I'm just saying like in a French like you're saying, but the assumption is naturally going to happen. Like that's the assumption. It's naturally going just to happen. Like every guy and every girl is the same. Where this natural drawn to one another is going to occur. There might be the biggest ick you got for this girl, and it's just never going to. It's never going to lead to that direction. But you, it's funny to bring this up because I'm just thinking personally. But there's just certain qualities that you like around people that they have that and bad qualities that you try to steer away from. And if you find it with somebody, let's say you're in school, a study partner, but now it's like a cool friend. Now y'all go out every now and then. Now she's part of your friend group, or like she can get added on when we go out to places or we go hiking or whatever it is. Like I feel like that's a friend. We're talking on a regular basis. We're still studying with one another. There's no like and nothing connected. You know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
So I guess here's my question. Um, let's just say you and C Love were good friends. Would you in any way be like, our friendship can't go past this? Would you be like a certain level of um, of closeness, not sexually, but would you be like, oh, it's smart to have a certain level that I shouldn't ever let him get to? Or would you be like, no, I know that's not going to happen? Like, are you following what I'm saying? Like with the friend of the same sex, would you
Mhm.
in any way be like, I've got to have some boundaries up and never let him get past this point? Or would you be okay with a closeness where you guys could talk about anything?
I mean, personally, I have some trust issues, so it's not like I'm thinking about it, but it's just we do have things we don't share with maybe anybody who we're
Mhm.
maybe deep insecurities, whatever, and you don't trust their maturity enough to actually handle that. So we
Right.
do that all the time. It's not like a conscious, intentional like I'm going to make sure I set these boundaries. This could be I'm not gonna talk about this. We can talk about everything else, games,
Right.
things going on, current events.
But
We
would
go
you
out,
say,
but like
to see Love's point though, if you're married and there is a friend of the opposite sex, you will have to put up a boundary in terms of what you can talk about and what you would share that you wouldn't be able to have to do with someone of the same sex.
Right.
yeah, the boundaries up there just because it just gets weird. Like, and I guess that's where it'll just get weird if you talking about like sexual stuff. Like maybe you have a porn addiction. Like you're really gonna talk about with your like that's something like that's just weird to that would be weird to bring up. Like I don't how will she help? Like it's like there's just such a distinct difference in perspective within the genders when it comes to like I can only think of that being the category where it's like some things might not be like just not relatable, so it's not going to come up. But it's not like I'm establishing a boundary like I have to not do this, otherwise it's going to lead bad. It's just there's a lack of relatability in that sector, so we're not going to bring that up. You could view that as a boundary, but like I said, I view it the same way as like not trusting somebody because they're too immature to handle insecurities that I have.
Right.
Like it, it
But I think the only difference is that person you're saying, oh, that you're basing it off their maturity level. This person, you would not share that strictly because of their gender, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's true.
So someone in a
Thank you.
certain in the other gender would automatically not have access to certain areas of your life that a guy friend could. And that's where I think he's saying, uh,
But
I
does
would
that make a friendship though? But does that element make a friendship though? That's the thing. Like, I don't think like I'm what I'm trying to say is yes, there's going to be those at the especially the gender different sexual category stuff that's just not going to be relatable with the opposite gender that you can talk that you're not drawn to. It's
Mhm.
not something you bring up, but that I don't feel like that's the necessary component that's essential for a friendship. There's a lot
Yeah.
that there's a lot
So,
more dynamic qualities. My
well, I
bad.
guess
Go ahead.
then I guess here's the question we need to ask is what do you consider a friend? And what does C Love consider a friend? Because if C Love considers a
Mhm.
friend someone who's reached that like 9 out of 10
Mm.
area, like Proverbs 18:24. I just Googled it because I know we've all heard this voice. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother, like a Jonathan and David type relationship. You know,
Mm.
somebody that's in your small group that you talk about everything with, that you can open up all those areas spiritually with.
You're not doing
That
that.
that if it was a woman, that's either your wife or your fiance or something like that. But if it's a guy, that's seen as normal. And so I think C Love is saying he's saying friend is only that top echelon of what other people maybe call friends, because I think maybe other people are calling on a scale of 1 to 10 anyone who surpasses a 6 in
Yeah.
closeness in relationship. He's considered a lot of people are considering that a friend, and he's considering people in that 8 to 9 range a friend, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I guess yeah. That there's the we might not be collaborated in terms of the scale of what a friendship
Yeah,
is
yeah,
on that scale. Because I agree with you. I'm probably a little bit lower in that like threshold to friendship. Um, like I guess like a true best friend. That's where I'll make
Okay.
that delineation where it's like okay, a best friend is that brother like 9 of the scale. But I
Okay.
have friends who aren't my best friends that are considered still friends to me who are more
Mhm.
important than acquaintances. Like acquaintances, I'm gonna see you out of convenience. Like we're gonna see each other if we work together at the same job or like I don't know, like you're close with my friend, and so we're going to see each other from social stuff every now and then. But we're not really gonna talk. We're not gonna have our own separate friendship where we can call on each other. Be like that's what I consider acquaintance, and then friendship is like you could have you know prolonged conversation with them. You can hang out with them. Like it's not weird. Like you like their personality. You have common interests. You can have fun with each other and do stuff and plan events and that's a friend to me. Like I don't know what you that I can't see my I don't consider that a acquaintance. If I'm doing all that with
Well,
somebody and investing all this time, I don't
right,
know.
right. No, that's fair. That makes sense. I think, like you said, it's the calibration of your scale and his scale, and different people calibrate it differently. Todd M said, "If you have a passing romantic or sexual thought, is it still friendship?" A passing romantic or sexual thought, like it just comes in, she looks kind of good, and then could
I,
it still be considered
Yeah,
friendship at that point? You think
I
so?
think so. Yes. It comes and
that's why
goes.
I say
People
that right there. That answer right there is why I say men and women cannot be friends. He just admitted the truth. Even if a
yeah,
man is best friends with a woman or is friends with a woman, he always has that thought of, man, can I be with her? Can I have sex with her? Can I sleep with her? Women may not think that all the time, but men, it's in the back of a man's head. Can I get with this girl?
it
Oh
it
man.
passes. Then that's there's this now calibration again where it's like that might come and go maybe once a month. It's a passing thought. Like it's truly like yeah, she cute. Like I forgot. And then it goes, all right, cool. I remember who she is. I like her
So,
personality. Like it's I don't know. I think that's so friend.
so
If that's like a fleeting thought,
all right. So let me ask you this
we've
then:
got
you got a
yeah,
girlfriend. Let's say you have a girlfriend,
yeah,
and your girlfriend has a friend, and that
no,
friend is using the same thought process you just used. Like, oh, every once in a while, I think about sleeping with her. How okay with you? How okay are you with her having that guy as a friend?
Wait, repeat that again. My bad. I missed that. I missed that.
I was saying that your girlfriend has a guy friend or best friend, and he has the same thought process. You know, every once in a while, I think about sleeping with her. How okay would you be with your girlfriend having a friend like that?
Every once in a while, sleep. Yeah, see, this is the thing. Like, see, this is where the scales. Like, I just said, oh, I noticed she was cute. Like, I remember, oh yeah, she cute. Like, that's a
Well,
fleeting
no,
thought. Oh, I like her. Versus, I'm envisioning her naked. I'm envisioning sleeping with her. All that. I don't. That's a whole different story. That's way too much now. Like, come on now. What are we doing? Like, no, I would not be okay with that. But that's different than just to be like, you see somebody like, oh, she looking good. Like, I remember, oh, she cute. Like, she asks you, oh, y'all going out and she's dressing up a certain way. You're like, oh wow, she looks good. But it's not like I'm now envisioning sleeping with her and bagging her, and now it's never. I mean, it can happen, and those aren't necessarily maybe not be friends. But in this scenario that I'm bringing up specifically, I think what the guy brought up in the chat, I guess on Instagram Live, it's like a passing thought. It's not serious. He's chill. Like, there's two different guys in that scenario. That guy that you just described, C Love, is absolutely not. That guy's ready, like, for when the opportunity presents itself to like jump on that.
and
The other
99%
guy,
of guys are.
see, that's the thing. I don't know if it's 99. That's where I don't know if we agree with the percentage. It's the scaling. I don't know. I don't think it's 99%. I see plenty of guys who are cool, and I know that they haven't really messed around with her, and they don't. That's not
Mhm.
brought up. When guys I'm close with who have girlfriends and all that, but not girl friends that are girls, I guess, to delineate, who are trying to check for them. Like, I see it all the time in college, and I'm 26, so maybe this is the age thing, but I in college a few years ago, that was the norm. Like, there's so many more girls in college than guys, and so there's people
Oh
you're
yeah,
gonna be
you're
working with, that
outnumbered.
you're surrounded by.
Outnumbered. Yeah.
You're outnumbered. So you and then other guys not might be the best, people to hang around, or they're just don't have similar
So
mindset. They might not be as ambitious. It's just girls
yeah,
be on it.
no,
Like, they can really help you. So I
so
wouldn't
Todd
be like, I
M.
can't be any friends with the girls. My bad.
Todd M says, would he date any of his female friends?
Would he date any? Oh, would I date any of my female friends? No.
Okay.
If I
There
would,
we
I
go.
would have not been friends with him. I guess that's
Yeah,
see,
okay.
that's
Okay.
my,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
nah.
okay. Makes sense.
Maybe I have too high standards. I don't know. It might be my standards, but yeah, no. I don't have a lot.
Cool.
I don't have a lot of female friends, by the way. It's not like I'm out here with a lot. No, I'm just saying the
So,
other ones I have.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, right.
so basically, the females like you. You don't like them because you're only friends for a couple of reasons. Either one, they're attracted to you, and you're not attracted to them,
That's
or vice versa.
It's not that you're simplifying it. We were too complex to be simplifying it to two reasons. No, it's just not it.
That's fair.
It's just there's so much
fair.
more, like, especially if they're like not of God, and like they're very promiscuous and all that, and like your friends from college or whatever. And so, like, I'm not saying like no, I wouldn't like eat.
Okay.
Yeah, no. And there's been times where I guess it could have happened, like came to my apartment and all that, and I live by myself. No, I'm like, we talking, I'm helping her with her writing assignment, like, and she gone. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I don't feel like I'm an anomaly like that, but there's more to friendship, or that type of friendship, than just like one person likes the other. I don't think she likes me. So
That's a good point. Well, we appreciate it, Justin, man. We didn't mean to get you off your walk. I just saw you pop up, and I was, let's go ahead and get him on, because last time I know you tried to hop on and we got off too soon. So wanted to make sure we got you on this time. So we appreciate it, man.
Did that change your mind? No? Yes? or added a
I'm kind of
perspective, maybe.
I'm kind of in the middle on it. But C Love, what do you think?
No, that didn't change my mind at all. Because you said it. You said that, yeah, I occasionally, once a month I have that thought when the question
No,
was
it's
raised. So, I mean,
I'm just,
you,
it wasn't
who
it wasn't
said
like it was
that?
months. I'm
So
saying like
what?
you can appreciate beauty, right? But it's not like I'm trying to sleep with her or I find her like I'm ready to like jump on it. It's different. And I said once a month as an example. I'm saying it happens. It's just once every other blue moon, whatever. You're just like, oh, yeah, she's cute. I forgot.
Okay.
You literally forget, and it's just like, okay, because I forgot she's my friend. So it's
Yeah, I know.
I,
I know. Damn, friend.
Yeah.
Looking good.
that's it. That's it. You
Yeah,
do
I
that,
don't.
and then
Yeah,
Well,
know it.
we appreciate it, man. We got a couple people that are hopping on too.
all right.
We
Appreciate you,
I
appreciate
sir.
it,
appreciate it.
and thank you a lot, man.
All right.
So before we bring on the other two, because C Love, I think you may need to go ahead and buckle up for this one.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and watch one of these videos real quick, and then we'll go ahead and bring the other two on real fast. So let me go ahead and pull it up.
Like, give me one quick second. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Let me, yeah, thank you.
All right. I think this is it.
Friends have revealed to me that they have feelings for me. And I'm not interested, but I'm just wondering where this sudden mojo came from. I mean, do you notice anything unique about me?
I don't notice nothing. No, I'm happily married. You thought that they really just wanted to be your friend?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can have
Really?
guy friends.
No, you can't. Only way you have a guy friend is you're saying we're only friends. They're hanging out with you in hopes of something else happening. They hang out with you and they circle like buzzards, waiting on a crack in the door, a chink in the armor. Guys are not made that way. Men, you don't hang out with fly chicks to be their friend. You hope you catch them hurting one day and you're there for them. Guys know I'm telling you the truth. You don't find any of them interesting?
No, I mean, they're all good guys, but we're friends. I mean,
Stop. What are you looking for?
I mean,
Are you looking for a good guy?
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a good guy that's looking at you.
Dum dum dum.
What up?
What's up,
Can y'all
guys?
hear?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. So we've got Chris, we've got Kelsey. Thanks for hopping on. We appreciate it. So, what do you guys think of that video?
Man, it's crazy how like man, people be using that Steve Harvey stuff. It's like 1 second they're like, man, what he said is horrible. And the next second is like, oh man, that's a really good point. We're gonna go with that. But to each their own. I don't know, bro. I think it really depends on the person, right? Like if we're talking in the world with worldly people, then yeah, obviously it's not possible at all, right? Because the majority of men in the world, they think with their parts and their lust, right? That kind of leads them. So yeah, I can see why you wouldn't see that men and women could be friends, right? But if you look at the kingdom, bro, that's not kingdom. There's nothing about that's kingdom, right? And I'm not saying godly men can't be tempted or anything like that, but bro, if you're looking at women and you've killed that lust over years and died to your flesh, you don't look at women as just sexual objects anymore. You know what I mean? It's not just about she's pretty, I would like to smash or like to get with X, Y, and Z. Like that's not your sole focus. That's not controlling your thoughts and your moves and how you do everything. So, I mean, you got to ask yourself, if you don't believe that it's possible for men and women to be friends, you got to ask yourself, is it trauma leading that? right, is a trauma, is a traumatic experience or culture or something or a stronghold that's keeping me from seeing women like that or seeing that that's even possible, now you got to look at that, right? But I think it's definitely possible.
Okay, so my question is, what do you define as a friend? Because I think I don't know if you were on earlier, but we were talking about what do you think about that?
I heard that, and I disagree, right?
Because
I disagree because that's not what a friend is, bro. We rarely see each other. When's the last time we all see each other? I consider y'all some best friends, but I don't see y'all on a weekly basis. We don't even talk.
Right, but the reason why is because we saw each other every day for a long time.
Facts.
But still, I have a whole lot of friends that we don't talk every day, all day. That's
right,
not,
but you did at one point.
I don't necessarily consider that. I think friendship is more about, you talk about purpose, you talk about things in the spirit, you talk about kingdom, you talk about the intimacy that y'all get to. And I'm not talking about physical intimacy, right? The intimate conversations, right? Are they edifying you? Are they calling you up? Are they challenging you? Those are people I can consider my friends, right? Whether we talk a lot or whether it's once a week or whether it's once a month, we still friends. Acquaintances, man, acquaintances, acquaintances is like a guy that just be like, nah, we cool. And that's it. Like, I wouldn't even, it's just like, oh, no, we cool. Like, I ain't got nothing against them, but we cool. Friends is like, no, we confide in, we talking. I sharpen them, they sharpen me, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter necessarily if, oh, we're seeing each other or talking to each other every day. I don't necessarily consider that. I mean, it's not a friend, but I don't consider that the only way to be a friend.
That's fair. Do you think that those situations that you're referring to, those people, you had been in a season of life where you were seeing them every day, which is where you got to that point to now you don't have to see them every day and you still have that closeness?
No. Some yes.
Do you have some examples?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we'll just name them.
I mean, well, I'm not gonna put their business, but I have at least
we never said share anything about them. We just said share who they are.
I have at least 4 friends.
Say
that
2
are
names.
women.
Chris, am I one of them?
Yeah, we've never been around each other for a consistent amount of time.
Are you sure you want to use that example? All right. Okay. So anyway, I'm just messing with you because I'll say the same thing to C Love too. Honestly,
I just want to
say I'm gonna ask C Love. I was gonna ask C Love to help you guys out. I was gonna say, C Love, do you consider Kelsey a friend?
She
Zach,
is,
because that kind of proves their point. If you consider her a friend, that proves their point.
I don't consider her a
Yay,
friend.
Joel's here. I love this.
I don't consider her a friend like that.
C-Love, I have a question. Let me ask this question, Zach.
Okay, can you get on camera? Because we'll full screen you so you can get on camera.
Well, I'm just not on camera because I'm working on a brief. But
okay,
C-Love, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you confided in me about anything?
I don't know.
I'm not a good person to have on because I'll debunk his whole
Go ahead. That's okay. That's okay. Hey, whoever, if you guys are telling the truth, or if he's telling the truth, or him,
he knows the answer. He's doing what any good witness does on the stand. I don't know. He knows whether
maybe you
or
should
not
go to law school, C-Love. So, okay, but here's my question: is there anything that would be off limits to a close best friend?
That's the opposite sex?
No. That's just a close best friend. Like, would there be things that would be off limits to Byron, one of your best friends?
I say yes.
To Byron, no, but there's certain friends that yes, there's certain.
Okay, what if Byron was a female? Would there be things off limits?
If I was in a relationship, yes.
Why?
Because, okay, I'm gonna say it like this. At the point where I become in a relationship with somebody else, right? That is my first priority. So that now becomes my best friend, right? And I'm gonna confide, I'm gonna trust in, I'm gonna do everything with the person I'm in a relationship with. So naturally, my relationship will not be as quote unquote intimate with the other, my other previous friend, not previous friend, but my other friend, right? As it was before I was in a relationship, out of respect to that relationship. Now, does that mean we're not friends? No, not at all. But there's certain intimacy, and I'm not talking about physically, there's certain intimacy that I'm just not going to confide in her because now I have my best friend that I'm dating. And with that also being said, my woman / wife would have to be friends with that woman as well. If they're not as good as friends as we are, then what do you mean why?
To be friends
No,
with
but
them?
why? Explain.
Yes, most definitely.
Explain why.
Because I don't want, and this is me, to each his own. I don't want the thought to even enter my woman or wife's mind. So she knows how she lives her life. She confides in her, like they're on that same level to a certain extent, right? So for example, like if, and this is why I think it's possible, right? Like if, let's say, you know, your girl or whatever is dating you, right? And like how to say it? Like that, like your partner would have to really get to know your friend's character, right? How they live their life. Are they spirit led? Do they answer to God? Or are they just out here wilding out, living by their flesh, right? Because that, to a certain extent, is going to determine, man, is this person trustworthy enough to even be friends with?
So here's my question, though. You're saying that this woman would automatically take your best friend spot, right? If you're dating her, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Because that's now my best friend. What you mean? Because I'm
No,
dating.
why is she now your best friend?
Because What do you mean? Because that's my woman.
Yeah, but why is she automatically your best friend now?
What do you mean? I'm answering it because that's my woman. What do you mean?
So why would Byron still not be your best friend?
He would still be my best friend, but even then, my friendship with Byron would take, I'm not going to say it would take a hit. Even with y'all, it would take a certain hit because now I'm confiding everything into my woman.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Wait, let's see, love. Hold on. So, okay. So I'm following what you're saying. But my question is, why would she jump all the way to number one?
Because if I'm, well, and let's take it with the premise that I'm marrying this woman, right? Because if we just talking, I mean, that's, you know, it is what it is, right? So let's just say my wife, right? Or becoming my wife. Then yes, that is my rib. That is we becoming one. She takes the top priority over any relationship in this world outside of God.
So doesn't that show that there's a difference in men and women when it comes to relationships? Meaning, if you got close enough to a woman, she's automatically going to be number one. That's your rib. That's your connection that's closer than anyone else, which is why you wouldn't want, which is why automatically other women would be blocked off from a certain level of closeness when other guys wouldn't.
I agree.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you're now an acquaintance.
Well, I guess it just depends on the definition of friendship. Like, I guess, C-Love, how would you define friend? Oh, we'll go like this. A best friend. Could you be, maybe we should say this. Could you be
because now we're changing. Okay, now you're moving the mark now.
Well, I think his mark of friend is what most people call best friends.
Right.
That's what I think he's saying. He's saying he defines friend as best friends. And what most other people are just calling friend, but not really best friend, he's saying that's acquaintance.
Right. Absolutely.
So
I just want to say, but C-Love said that, and he still hasn't answered the question, and I would love for him to answer it. You're saying that confiding in or sharing like intimate parts of your life with someone, you don't do that with the opposite sex because they're not your friends.
I never said I don't do that. I said that's part of being that sort of best friend. That's an element of it. I'm not saying I've never done it though.
No, take away the best friend thing. Just a friend.
Well, no, well, we have to use best friend because I believe that,
So
like
now
Zach
you've
said,
changed it.
we
So you've
yeah,
changed it.
I really didn't change it. We're just clearly defining it, right? So
Well, I
my
mean,
definition of friendship, I have like 6 or 7 friends, right?
yeah,
That's
but
it.
what we're saying is you've changed the standard. It originally started at friend, and let's define that. And now we've
Because
blossomed it.
I'm calling a friend an acquaintance to you guys. Would be an
But that's
acquaintance.
not. But that's not
But
reality because there's more
that's not
levels than
reality.
that.
You can't
Well,
change
would-
definitions of things to fit your reality.
Would you say the definition is
not-
kind of subjective though?
No, friends, they put the definition of, we can't do that. Like, that's not
That's why
how
you say best
healthy-
friends because that's a higher,
Literally.
deeper level.
Literally, you can't change meanings of things to fit your reality. That's the
Well, then what's the
definition of
difference between a
insanity.
friend and an acquaintance?
There's this huge difference. Google it.
Well, what would
We
you
don't
say?
use-
I want to know.
What I
your
would say,
definition.
an acquaintance, and a prime example is I have a group of girlfriends here in Birmingham, and I
Okay.
met them at work. I would consider one of them to be my best friend, meaning I confide in her about everything. There's no boundaries as to what I share with her.
Mhm.
I would consider a few of the friends where I will tell them certain things, but there's a boundary on like how much or how vulnerable I'm willing to get with them, but I'll go out with them, have lunch, and I'll hang out with them one-on-one. An acquaintance of our group is one of the girls that I don't hang out with one-on-one. She's kind of someone who I invite to parties and stuff like that because she's a part of our friend group, but I don't consider her to be a friend because I don't confide in her about really anything. It's just very surface level, and she's there if everyone else is there, sort of a thing. And I think by definition, that fits what an acquaintance is. It fits what a friend is, and it fits what a best friend is. So we can't change the names to try to make it fit our reality.
Well, I think that's what C Love was referring to as a friend. I think that's why
Right.
there's the confusion. What about best friend though? Would you say that it's possible to be best friends with the guy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, Chris, what do you think about that? Best friend.
I think.
You think we're getting in getting into different waters here?
No. I think it might depend, right? On what stage of life that you're in.
Why?
Because if you have a wife, like I said before, your wife should be your best friend.
So then you couldn't have a best friend that's a woman if you're married.
Unless she's both of y'all's best friend.
Exactly. I can agree with that. I can wholeheartedly agree with that.
And how would that work?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
What do you mean? How would it work?
How would a
No,
woman just
stop
automatically?
thinking worldly. How would it work?
I'm-
Just like, what do you mean? Just like
One of
Wait,
my
hold on.
old
Hold on.
friends-
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Why are you calling it worldly when it's wise to not have a very close, intimate relationship with the opposite sex?
Okay, I have a question. Hold on.
as
Let's pause
a
and bring
married
it biblical. Mary
Yeah,
and
biblical.
Jesus, right?
Okay. God.
Was she
yeah.
not a close
God.
friend to Jesus?
He's God. He can be a close friend to anybody. He can be a close friend to children. It would be
But
inappropriate for me to be close friends with children.
But let's break it down. We're talking about Jesus, right?
Mhm.
Who walked
None of
the
us are
earth.
Jesus though.
No, go ahead. Let her finish.
Actually, we're supposed to be just like him. We're made righteous through him, and so we're
I
literally
can't be just like him.
we're supposed to be we're
No,
supposed
let
to
her
be
let her finish. Let her finish.
walking with him. But I say this to say, God, Jesus walked this earth in male human form to show us how to live life, right? And if your notion is that men and women can't be friends, then you're saying that Jesus' and Mary's relationship only worked because he's quote unquote God, right? Like, of course he is God, but you know what I'm saying. You're trying to change his earthly walk and make it spiritual when it's convenient, but the rest of his walk when he was here on earth, we take it as, wow, God was humbled himself and brought himself in human form as a person to experience life the way that we do as people, humans. So we can't take away that relationship and just put it in the corner and say, well, he's God, I can't be like him. That relationship was one of the strongest relationships that we see with a man and woman that was strictly platonic. So what's your response to that?
I would say it wasn't platonic. It was a father-daughter relationship. It's God and one of his children. Just like our
So
relationship
I
would
have a
be.
question.
Wait, hold on. I'll just say this. I'll say this. Even Jesus, though, the fact that there was even that mentioned, you know that there are a lot of people that try to act like even that was a romantic relationship.
Yeah, because they're the people that are they're the sea loves of the world. They're the
Maybe.
people that
Yeah.
don't have
No,
they're the
they're
people that don't have understanding that men and women can look at each other the same way as like you're my brother and you're my sister in Christ. Like if you are not of the world and you have a relationship with Christ, every human being should be looked at as your brother and sister in Christ, as long as, I mean, if you know you're walking with them. Like a prime example is small group, right? And Zach, we've talked about this. There's plenty of small groups that are what's the word I'm looking for? Like both genders. And
Mhm.
to say that they can't be friends, what is that?
Well,
Like
there's a
that's
reason. There's a reason why these small groups, when you start talking about intimate things, they break it off into men and women.
no, but they do that for you're right, but it's a boundary. It's not saying that we can't be friends. It's like you guys are
But
saying
what's
there's a
the
boundary.
definition of a boundary? A line you cannot cross.
Yeah, and but what I
And
said
other people
before,
don't have that line.
that's not true. But what I said before, even in the chat, was that there's boundaries throughout all relationships, whether you're male or woman, whether it's familial, whether it's professional, whether it's
Mhm.
your pastor, there's boundaries in all relationships. That's
Yeah.
what makes relationships healthy. And so
Wait,
as
but
any relationship, you create boundaries that
Mhm.
allow the relationship to be fruitful.
No, I totally agree with that. But wouldn't you say that it's interesting that there are boundaries specific for people because of gender? Just like there's boundaries for people because of age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you
And
don't
So
think it's possible?
but I still
No,
think it's
I'm not saying
possible.
I'm not saying I don't think it's necessarily possible, but I don't think it's practical. I don't think C Love's saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying I don't think it's practical and I don't think it's smart.
See, Love and I are friends. He just won't say that publicly.
Yeah, we're not best friends.
But now we've moved to best friends.
We're not best
You guys
friends.
best friends.
I'll say friends, but we're not best friends. And the best friends,
Okay, so we can end the live. C Love just admitted that he's friends with a woman. So
yeah,
Why?
by your definition of friends, we're friends.
Yeah, but his
it's not my
definition.
definition. It's
No.
Google.
No, yeah, that's the definition. If that's the objective definition, then all we had was a misunderstanding of the definition of the words because he was defining friend
As
as
a best friend.
best friend.
But you
Right.
do know, I mean, like I said, it also depends on the state that you're at. Like if I'm a single man, then yes, I can have quote unquote best friends that are women.
Now, I did see Kelsey, you did say in the chat, Justin that was on, you said I could be friends. I could
Yeah, I
be friends
could be
with
friends
him.
with Justin.
So
Also, I
Seems
just
like a
want to
cool guy.
say to address the guy that's in the chat. I think his name is Todd. He's been saying like a lot of things, and he was saying Jesus did not have romantic attraction to humans, yada yada yada.
where did he say
What I
that?
will, he's
Hold
been
on.
commenting a lot, and like obviously
Okay, I see,
appreciate
I
his
see.
his engagement. But I just want to say that Scripture tells us that he was tempted in every way that we were. So I'll just leave it
Yeah,
at that.
that's true. That's true.
So whether
So okay, so question. Do you guys think he was tempted in those situations when he had the like
absolutely,
you think he was tempted by his girlfriends?
absolutely. If
So
Scripture
do you
tells
think
us that he was tempted every way, I believe
Right.
wholeheartedly that he
Yeah.
was.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So do you think that you know when the Bible says flee from, and it specifically talks about a certain type of temptation, sexual temptation, I
Sexual
believe.
immorality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the temptation says to flee from it, not fight it off.
Right.
Right. So I agree that men and women can be friends. I'm not going to say that can't happen. I'm even going to say they can be best friends. But I do think that practically
You have to
there's
set
some.
boundaries.
Yeah, I think practically it's not the same as a guy best friend.
It's not.
No, it's
Especially
not.
once you start dating or once you get married, And then I would say, or a woman best friend, you know, if she's a woman.
I agree.
But I will say, I don't think it's even practical when you're single for most people for this reason. We all agree men and women are very different, right?
Yep.
We all agree with that. It's interesting to me that guys that say they have a woman best friend, that woman best friend is never unattractive.
This
Facts.
was D-Love's argument.
Facts.
Oh,
Facts,
it was?
facts,
Really?
Facts.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
Facts. That is facts. This man speaking facts.
No, he's never like, oh, she's really unattractive. She's always somewhat attractive, and it's never a situation where when you see that person, you see all his other like really close friends. They're into the same things he's into. They're into, let's say, you know, if he's into sports, they're into sports, they're into anime, they're into all these things. And then all of a sudden, she's not into any of those things. And he's like, yeah, she's my best friend. And I'm wondering if she was a man, if she magically turned into a man, would he still be friends with that person? Or
No,
is he friends with the...
Okay.
That's my point.
But but think about it. Think about that scenario. Like, that's a very specific scenario.
It is.
I think, yeah, if a dude is just saying, oh, she's my best friend because she's fine, he might be playing a long game, right? That's a little different than just saying,
That's the argument.
We like the same team.
I'm making it on my side.
Huh?
Is most guys are playing the long game.
C-Love is
And
literally my best friend. I don't know why he's saying this on live.
Every man is not ruled by their flesh to say every dude.
Wait, hold on. That's not always a sinful thing. That doesn't mean it's a flesh thing. He may really just want to marry the girl.
Yeah.
That's not a flesh thing. It's not a
He's
bad
attracted
thing.
to women.
He's
So
just
you're
attracted
saying,
to
okay,
women.
hold on. So you're saying, right, that most guys that play the whole friend role are trying to marry that woman.
They want something out of her.
Okay, but that's different than trying to marry her.
Yeah, but you're
I would
ruling out
say, you know,
the
but
possibility that
what-
he's trying to marry her, though. You're ruling that out. You're just saying, oh, he wants to
No,
sleep with
I'm
her. That's
saying
not
9
always the case.
times out of 10, they not just trying to, like, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. 9 times out of 10, those guys are not trying to put a ring on it and get married.
Well, Chris,
Can we be honest?
Chris, if a guy's
Wait,
we all know that we all know this. If a guy is trying to marry a woman, let's say we're just talking about the good guys right now, right? If he's trying to marry a woman, he's not going to go up to her first thing and say, I want to marry you. He's going to try to become a friend first. And
Right.
the reason he's becoming a friend is so he can eventually move into marriage.
Okay, but hold on. We also got to put it in context, right? So yes, if I'm pursuing a woman, yes, I may want to be friends first. However, I will show intention that I see you as more than just a friend.
And Chris,
Right, but if
I
you
would
do it
argue-
too soon,
I would
you'll run
argue-
him off.
I would argue that the guy who is best friends with the girl isn't trying to sleep with her. And most times they are actually trying to have a real relationship. Why do I say that? Because these best friends will stick around for years.
yeah, C-Love,
Watching
we've
her
been
screw
best
other
friends for
guys.
years.
Watch her go on dates with
Bro,
other guys.
you gotta
Do
stop
all
watching
kinds of
rom-coms.
stuff.
Hold on, Kelsey
That's
said.
not real
hold on.
life.
C-Love,
Kelsey
we've
just said
been
something
best
too.
friends for years at this point.
They'll stick around for years, Chris, and it won't get none. Won't even sniff
love.
it. Won't even sniff it.
Love. You gotta stop watching rom-coms. A man of God is not about to sit there in the cut and not gonna say his real intentions with this woman.
Yes, he will. What are you
No,
talking
he
about?
won't.
Because like Zach said, he's trying to establish that friend relationship first.
No,
and then what
no,
happens
you know
is,
why?
Hold on.
You know why
Hold on.
they
Can I get a
won't?
word in? Can I get a word in real
Okay.
quick? And then what happens is, on his pursuit for marriage, he steps into that friend zone, and then she says, whoa, hey, you know, we're just friends, blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't know how to get out of it. That's what happens to the man of God. He doesn't know how to get out of that friend zone.
No,
So he
bro.
stays
That
there.
you know. Okay, here's my pushback to that. That guy that you just described is not a man of God. A man of God is not going to sit there passively and saying that, oh man, I'm just going to play the friend game and just let everybody else pass. It's like, no, sweetheart, I'm pursuing you. I want a friendship, but I'm going to let my intentions be known because I'm a freaking
How many
man.
times? How many
And that's
times
what
have
I
you
do.
done that though? How many times has anyone done that? I don't know. I don't know
Caleb has
anyone
done
that's
that
just.
before.
I don't know anybody that's just literally said, even if they're a man of God, I don't know anyone that's literally just been like, "Hey, I'm pursuing you. You and me, we're gonna get married." That's the only
Okay,
reason
see.
I'm really here is friendship.
Caleb,
You
have
and
you
me.
ever done that?
I don't think that's gonna
not,
work.
Hold on. There's a way to do it, right? I'm not saying you come out the gate and say, "Oh, I'm pursuing you." However,
Right.
there's certain things that you do to show them, "Hey, I'm not seeing you as a friend. I'm building a
Guys.
friendship, but this is not my intention."
You know
For
what?
example, right?
Can I just
Before
ask a
do
we go there,
romantic
question?
gestures.
I want to ask Kelsey a question real quick.
Okay.
If a guy comes up to you and says, let's just say in your small group or something, and he's like, "Kelsey, I've been watching you for a while now, and I'm a man of God. I'm not going to lead you on. You and me, we're going out tonight." And you've just been friends with them. You've been like, "Oh, he's really, oh, Chris, you're saying no. You're saying no, it's not going to happen." He's letting his intentions be known. He's being courageous. He's being a man of God. I've never seen that work. What would you
Because
say
you're
to
not
that,
doing
Kelsey?
it
You
right.
started shaking your head.
Well,
Because you ain't doing it right.
I would say no, but also just like not dating anyone from small group. Anyways, I
Why?
just wanted to
Wait,
ask
why wouldn't you?
because I'm not. And in my small group, it's all women.
No, but why would you not in that type
it's
of
all women.
situation?
That's a
that
whole other
hypothetical
conversation for
situation?
another day, Zach. We'll talk about it another time. But I just want to ask a question to Chris. Chris, have you ever told a woman like, "Hey, like I like you as a friend, but I also like want to like pursue you"? Have you ever told a woman that?
I never needed to.
Okay. C-Love, have you ever told a woman like, "Hey, we're friends, but I want to pursue you"?
No. If
Okay.
I told a woman, if I start the sentence off with, "Hey, we're friends," I'm not gonna follow it by, "But I want more." Like that doesn't even go
C-Love, have you
together.
ever
I don't
told
want
a
to be
woman?
friends. What?
Have you ever told a woman who's your friend, like, "I want something more"? Have you ever told a woman that?
Are you asking C-Love?
Mm-hmm.
I want something more. Have I ever told a woman I want something more?
Yeah, he has. Yes, he has. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
But that's
No
my
further
point,
questions for this one.
Because you don't
But,
have,
yeah,
but that's my point, Zach. Like, if you're doing it that way, you're not doing it right, bro.
No.
Right,
If you're
but
at a point where you have
but
to
at first,
tell a
okay, but
woman,
here's the thing though. Here's the thing. At first, we're labeling guys that are trying to build a friendship and then maybe get married or see where it goes as, "Oh, those guys aren't men of God." But the guy that lets them know from the like, and then now we're just saying, "Oh, it doesn't work."
No, Zach. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me,
I'm
fellas.
listening.
Everybody, if you're watching this, if you're a man of God, listen to me. Yes, have your intentions in your head. Hey, I'm building a friendship and I'm pursuing this woman, right? Now, how you go about doing that will let the woman know that you see her more than just a friend. For example, the way you go out on a date, the way you pursue her, the way you be romantic, the way you get a sense of comfortability to where she can let her guard down, right? The way you show that, no, yes, we're building a friendship, but I see you more in that. Based
Okay,
on
so
how
what
you
does that look like?
pursue
What
her.
does that look like pragmatically, practically? How does
I
that
just
look?
said some
No,
certain
you
things,
said,
right?
but you said things that are subjective. You said things like
No,
the
bro,
way you
no,
show her
it's not
this, and
subjective.
show her
If
that.
you go
What do
out
you
on a
say?
woman with a
What do you
date
do?
and you bring her flowers, if you be romantic, if you're doing romantic things,
Yes, I agree.
that's not
So
building a
But
friendship.
that's not a yes,
Can I give
exactly,
a
exactly.
woman's
That's the point. They're not
perspective?
exactly. That's the point. They're not friends.
Can I give a woman's
Those aren't
perspective?
friends.
Can I give a woman's perspective?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um,
But would
so
you agree that those are not friends? That's someone trying to date somebody.
yes, I would agree. And Chris and I kind of talked about this. I haven't started relationships as being friends with someone. It's kind of like we knew that there wasn't a like if somebody was asking me on a date, I knew that we were not friends. And if they were attractive, then obviously I'm going on a date with them, right? But my guy friends that are like my good friends, we're not going on dates. Like we're hanging out, but there's not a romantic anything to it. My guy friends, I confide in them about my relationship troubles, about my personal life. Like I confide in them about things that makes it very clear that it's platonic and there's clear indication that there's no interest there. So I don't necessarily agree that, I don't know how to explain it. If a guy is my friend, quote unquote, but we're pursuing a relationship, that to me, that's not a friend. A friend is just it's a hard stop. You're my friend and you'll never be anything
Okay,
else.
so what are things that you would not do with a friend? Would you go
I
on a
wouldn't-
date with a friend? That's a guy?
Dates are different, right? Because
Okay,
to
what's
me,
the date?
a date to me is romantic, right? Like you may hold hands, you may like bat your eyelashes, or there's some sort of flirting going on. With my guy friends, like it's not. Like Chris and I hang out. Like Chris and I just hung out and we worked
When did you
out
hang
and
out? When did you hang out?
this was like a week ago, and we went to the gym like I would do with any of my friends, and we went to get food and went on a long walk. Like
Sounds like a date
that's
to
not,
me.
yeah, C Love does
So,
not.
but okay, but let's just be real. Let's be real. Okay. Let's go 99% of the situations, right? Let's talk about you know, how many fingers do people have? 10 total, right? There's always going to be someone that has 2, there's someone that has 3 or whatever. But at the end of the day, if Chris is married, would you feel comfortable doing that even though he's married and has a wife? Just you two?
No, I wouldn't do that. But I would. Chris and I have talked
Okay,
about
would,
this. So,
would,
like,
would it be okay if me and Chris did that if he was married?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
But I think it's common sense, right? It's common
Why is it
sense
common sense though?
because this is what I'll say, right? I have respect for my guy friends. One of my guy friends is married, and I have respect. I don't call him after 7:00. I don't ask him to hang out and go do things. Like if I do anything, it's with him and his wife. So it's common sense and common courtesy, like Chris said, where you become friends with the both of them, that establishes a clear, healthy communication that there's no romantic relationship there. And the only reason why you do that, I'll say this, is because most people have the perception that C Love does. And I'm going to be honest, I think it's rooted in insecurity. That's just my thoughts, right? Like
Insecurity by the wife or the husband?
I think, let's put it from the male's perspective.
So the husband.
If my husband is like, you know, I just really don't want you hanging out with this guy. And, you know, I just can't believe that you guys can be friends. And we've been friends for 20 plus years, right? I think that's rooted in insecurity. Now,
You don't think it's rooted in wisdom? Any wisdom at all?
No, I don't. Because one of my guy best friends is almost 50. Like, he's not, he's
Okay.
like a big brother to me. It'll
Okay.
never, ever, ever be anything but platonic.
Kelsey, here's the thing. Do you think that men and women have different views on that specific scenario, though?
Yes, 100%.
If you were married, and do you think that that's just a sinful area, or do you think that's maybe how men are designed that's different and that's probably wise?
Yeah, I mean, I can also agree. That I think I'll say this. I think a lot of the comments, especially because it's predominantly men that are commenting and that are in here, and obviously I'm talking to you 3 men. I think as men, you all understand your nature better than I do. And so I think that as a man, you all have more wisdom in that area, that I could be naive in saying, these guys are my friends, they would never date me.
Very naive.
Right? But they could naturally maybe want that. But as a woman, at least, I know a lot of my girlfriends that have guy friends that are married.
And their husbands are okay with it?
Yes, because it's a conversation. Like my friend who's married, who's almost 50, I'm really good friends with his wife. And she understands that we're just friends and that's all. Like
But Zach, the interesting thing about that is, we do that with women too. I know.
Well, we do what with women too? What are you talking about?
I know a couple people that are married that are very, I'm not gonna say controlling, but are very observant of the friends that their wives keep.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying guys guys aren't going to be comfortable with that.
No, hold on. I'm not going there. The women friends that their women keep, right? So if they're hanging around women that are single,
Yeah,
that are partying,
of
that have
course.
a certain
Should be.
mindset,
Of course.
Should.
What's
Hold
that to
on.
do with anything?
so obviously, all I'm just saying is those boundaries that works with any friendship, whether it's okay having a man being in friends or saying, okay, my wife is has kids, is married. All the women that you hang around, they wilding out, doing this, going to parties, X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I don't want you hanging around them 24/7 because bad company corrupts good character, right? So
Right.
you're going to still, as a man, you're going to create those boundaries to be like, look, I don't think those women are women that you need to be hanging around of. So all I'm saying is, obviously, it's different, right? The how, but you're still trying to say, okay, let's use wisdom and kind of control this friend group to a certain extent
Right.
on both genders. That's all I'm
Right.
saying.
Right. But there's a reason for that, which is what C Love is saying. The reason is different. The reason you don't want her hanging around with the single friends is because it gives her bad ideas to do bad things and then start acting like them. The reason you don't want her hanging around with the guy is because you know that there's a difference in relationships when it comes to men and women, which is C Love's whole point of why he thinks they can't be best friends purely platonically. So
C-Love and I are best friends. I don't know why he keeps saying that.
So do you have any feelings for him, Kelsey?
C-Love's gonna be my husband one day.
There you go. You proved our point. So you proved our point. Thank you for coming on.
Let's actually
There you go.
ways,
And
right?
C-Love seems pretty happy about that. So
Well,
there you go.
Well, it doesn't seem like, because it doesn't seem like C Love is worried about the women coming on to the men. It's more so the men like playing in the cut, waiting for the woman.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
like we
of course.
explained, the dynamic is different. Men, the way we're wired is different from women. Like
Okay,
that kind of
so-
explained earlier.
Okay, so why wouldn't you consider yourself best friends with Kelsey?
I don't.
That's what I just asked. Why wouldn't you?
Because
Because
we're not. What do you mean?
Because
Okay,
what
so
he's
you don't
saying-
have any-
because-
Ask him more
because-
questions,
because-
Chris. You know how to do it.
because-
Ask
So you don't
him
have
more
any
because
questions
this
of how
is
you
the reason
define your
why.
best
This is
friend.
the reason why. This is the reason why. Because he knows that a best friend that's a woman, he's gonna have a romantic relationship with, and he doesn't think they're at that level to have a romantic relationship, so he's not calling her his best friend yet.
Okay, so
My-
if y'all,
my
so,
best friend-
so,
My best
so you're
friend
saying
as
if
a
you would
woman.
pursue her romantically, then y'all wouldn't be best friends.
No, I'm saying my best friend as a woman is my woman.
Wow.
That is my best friend as a woman.
That's what I said. Okay,
But I
earlier.
still have my male best friend. Just like you explained earlier, Chris. You said if you were best friends with a woman, but when you got married, she would be overtaken by your wife, right?
Yeah, or man.
Yeah. Yeah, because your best friend as a man, your best friend as a woman is your woman, not another
Yeah.
woman. Right.
Okay, so you're saying you don't consider her best friend because if she was, she would be your woman.
She would be my woman.
Okay.
But he's already said we're friends, so there's that.
He said you're friends.
Live is over. C-Love has said on live,
I've
men and
dominated
women.
this live.
So what do you
And be
guys? So
friends.
so what do you think about this? Here we go. Let's go ahead and bring this up.
Also, I just want to answer Todd's question. If my husband went to go get like to the gym with a friend, with a female friend, and went on a walk with her, I would not care at all. I wouldn't even flinch.
Yeah, right.
I wouldn't.
Together. About 6 months.
That's it. It's new. Oh, it's newish.
We're
Yeah.
friends. We're just friends, but he wants it.
Can we talk about this not in front of everyone, Jesse?
I'm single.
It's complicated.
I'm single, guys. I'm single.
What?
Oh no. We're really good friends.
That's literally C-Love and I. Oh my gosh, it's like the perfect
That would
depiction.
never. I guarantee that would never be me ever, ever. I guarantee you that would never be me.
My
C-Love,
whole
that's
thing is
what happened
why is
last
it
week when
always?
we were hanging
You know what's
out. Stop.
interesting?
Go ahead.
You know what's
Go ahead,
interesting?
Chris.
How like that situation is never with no homo. It's never with the Michael B. Jordans or the Idris Alba or Idris whatever his last name.
Idris Elba or whatever.
Chris
Yeah,
is
it's
basically
never-
saying he qualifies himself there. It won't be him.
It's never with those type of guys.
Right. Yeah,
And I'm
exactly
gonna keep
right.
it a buck. I was
And
that guy.
Chris-
What do you mean?
Oh, growing up, I was that. Oh, I was a late bloomer, so I was that guy.
So you've been in the friend zone before.
Oh yes, most definitely.
And
And
isn't
Chris-
it interesting that it rarely goes the other way around?
Oh, it goes the other way around now.
I said, hey, yeah, but
No.
isn't it interesting that it rarely goes the other way around?
Well, it only. So hold on, let me say it like this.
For
It,
like
it only.
10% of guys, they can do that, but most guys, it's the other way.
Yeah, because
it's never the
because
other
most bro, there's a shift, right? So like as you get older, and not to get on this whole the standard thing, right? But as you grow, as you mature, as you get more chiseled, as you become that man of God, as you get income higher and you know how to dress, and all these things start happening, now you're gonna start seeing an influx of women, right? Because they like, nah, bro. It's kind of like it's kind of a bad example, but y'all seen Love Don't Cost a Thing, right? It's like that nerdy guy is a friend. It's like, bro, ain't nobody want him, X, Y, and Z. But now he's starting to move like on a whole different tip. So now he has options, right? So that woman now she may become in the friend zone because now you have the options. And it's kind of like this, and I don't know how true this is, but I think it has some type of truth to it. Every woman to a certain, I won't say every woman, a lot of women want a man that other women want.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, of course. Okay.
I think that from a man's perspective, it seems
No. You're right. The average guy is okay with let's say a 5 guy. He's okay with the 6. He's okay with another 5. Sometimes he's even okay with the 4. But nowadays, you know, the 8s through the 3s, women a lot of times want the 9 and 10 guy, and the 6 guy trying to talk to the 6 woman many times still gets friend zoned because
she's looking for the 9 and 10.
She's looking for the 9
But
and
why
10.
do we do this? Why do we simplify people to numbers? Like,
I know, but
We're not
I don't like
we're not
that.
simplifying people to numbers. We're just finding an objective way to look at things.
but I
So-
think love isn't objective.
You think love is what?
I don't think love is objective, and I don't think
How is it not?
attraction is.
I would say
objective.
attraction is. Attraction is 100% objective.
I don't think it is because it's not the same for everyone.
Okay, if you're using that, yes. Okay, I misspoke.
For most people,
It can be subjective because there can be people that fall outside technically of the bell curve, but there's
Right.
bell curves with attraction. For example, most women, regardless of culture, regardless of time period, all want a man taller than they are.
Okay, I just have a quick question for you guys, right?
Yeah.
What do you all rate yourself?
Well, Zach's taken, so it
Chris.
really don't matter.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Chris.
Zach, you can skip. Joel thinks you're a 10. So next. C Love.
No, I was,
Rate yourself.
but to be honest, I was actually thinking about this today while I was working. I was thinking about this today while I was
Just
working.
randomly think
I was
about
thinking
this?
about because I saw a video where a guy got in trouble for rating his wife on a scale of 1 to 10,
Oh, bro.
and he was talking.
Yeah,
he was talking
don't
about,
even say anything.
He was talking about the average and stuff like
You
that.
setting yourself up for that. You better
No,
just say
no.
something.
I'm not setting myself up.
No, not
She
you. I'm
knows-
saying the guy. I was
Oh, the
like,
guy.
bro, you might as well.
Well,
just say
she actually seemed like she was okay with it, but
Nah.
Oh, Joel said you're a 20.
yeah, I would say objectively, if you're saying 5 or 6, if you're saying 6 is average, 5, 6 is average, then if we're saying like
Well, what your boy Kevin Samuels said? No sevens.
Ugh.
Sevens don't count.
no 7s,
I
you
don't
can't
talk
say
about
7.
this guy. This is
You can't say
crazy.
7.
No sevens.
So I would say that I am probably a. Oh, you can't say 7.
Joel has spoken. So
I
you
would
just have
say-
to.
I would say I'm an 8. I'm an 8. No, I would say I'm an 8. And my wife is she's like an 8.25.
No, she is not.
Meaning-
Joelle is a 10.
What does 10 mean?
Joelle's a 10.
No one's a 10. 10 is perfect. I'll say this.
I think if you ask
you're-
Chris, he's going to say he's a 10.
What are you, Chris? What would you say you are?
He's
Well,
going to say
C-Love's
10.
going first.
Go ahead, C-Love.
I think I'm a solid 6.5. something.
He's okay. That's because we're
Oh,
on
6.5.
camera.
Okay.
In that case, I'm a 5.
Okay, Chris is a 5.
C-Love is just
No,
capping
I'm honestly,
for this.
where I'm at in my life, I think I'm in the somewhere between the 8 to 9 range.
So you're saying that in the way that I would rank it is if you're a 7, 70% of the places you go, you're going to be the most attractive person in that area. No matter, it's 70% of the places you go. So you're saying 85% of the places you go, you're going to be the most attractive man in the room.
I'm top 5.
Okay. So
Humbly.
I'm gonna go ahead and go ahead and go Kevin Samuels on you. How much you make?
We could do that. The only knock I have right now,
Hey, hold on. We're gonna go one thing at a time. How much
like
you
we
make?
could really do that.
How
I'm not
much you
gonna.
What did
divest
I
all that. I'm an
do?
attorney.
Okay, are you making over 6 figures?
I'm not gonna divest all that. I'm an attorney.
Are you making over 6 figures? Okay.
The only knock-
What is this room? So how tall are you?
That's the only knock. I'm 5'10".
You said you're 5'6"?
I'm 5'10". Nice try.
Okay, 5'10". That's basic. That's up there. That's taller than the average man. So you're still above average in
Yeah,
those
but
areas.
you know, I know women. So women want the 6'3", 6'2" guys. So that's the
Okay,
only
what
knock.
percent of guys are 6'3", 6'2"?
Very low, but that's what they desire.
Okay. Well, that's the whole point. That's what we were saying is the 5s, the 4s, the 6s, they want the 90%, the 10% of guys. And what we were saying earlier, Chris, is the reason it rarely goes the other way around is how often are guys in that small percentile? Not that often.
Right. No.
Also-
So like, if we're being honest, like a lot of men, and that's why, if we're being honest, that's why the numbers are so skewed even in the church, right? Because if you're a man, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. I'm sorry, women. It's true, right? Like if you're a man and you're in the church, if you're a believer, and I mean like you do it like for real, and you're over 6 feet, you make over 6 figures, you don't have any kids, you've never been married, you look the part. Oh, bro, you can literally pick whatever woman you kind of want, right?
I just want to say this as a woman.
Todd
and,
M
like,
said 3.9% of guys in the U.S.
Yeah.
are over 6'2".
I was going to address that. I just want to say this in the most respectful way.
Mm-hmm.
The stats are a guy's thing because, and Chris and I have talked about this. I've never, respectfully and humbly, never had an issue ever meeting a man who was over 6 feet, who made over 6 figures, and who was at least a 7 or an 8. Ever.
You said you've never had issue finding those guys?
No.
Go
So
ahead and
my-
go ahead and get on camera, Kelsey, if you don't mind.
I'm not doing this for your
Okay.
clickbait.
So
prove
there's
it.
a
I'm not
reason
doing this
why
for your
there's a reason
clickbait.
why you haven't had issues with that because you're an attractive woman.
But
Because
that's
you're
why
not
I'm
you're not a
saying-
6. You're not a
But that's true.
five.
But I just
Yeah.
want to say that the
Now
that
you're not an
the-
8.25 like
But
my
the
wife
sta-
is, but
but
still,
the statistics,
you know,
but the
you're-
statistics aren't they don't match what
what
is-
you experience because
Yeah,
you
because
have
you fall
pretty
into a different
privilege.
category, though.
You
That's
fall
what
into a
he's saying.
different category. It's
Right.
like the
Most
guy.
women
It's like
don't fall into that category.
it's like the guy who makes 6 figures. He's 6'4". He's ripped. He's and and then you're wondering. He's like, man, why do guys get friend zoned? It doesn't make sense.
right.
I see
exactly.
beautiful women all the time. They're coming up to me. It's not that hard.
Exactly.
That's the situation you're in. And if you didn't, she was on camera earlier, you can rewind and look and see. But
I look crazy right now. That's why I didn't want to get on live.
see
'cause
that?
I knew
See,
you were
and
gonna
No,
then
post
but
it.
Zach,
they'll
like-
still stay. See,
but
Todd
that's
M.
real,
This is
and
what
that's why,
Todd
like,
M
even-
said. He just said
But
she's
even
very
Zach,
attractive.
That's why, like, I can speak to it because in high school and stuff, I was that guy. Like I wasn't the guy that got the girl. I wasn't the had it all together. I was still trying to figure it
Hey,
all out.
you guys
right?
continue for like 2 minutes. I got to plug up the laptop. Continue. You weren't that guy. You're saying.
Yeah, I wasn't that guy. So like, you know, you got to kind of develop that and become that type of guy. So now that you can, like you said, you kind of get more options. If you fall into that, you know, that level of attractiveness, whether you're a guy or a girl, your experiences will be completely different than the majority of people, right? Because I mean, we can say attractiveness is subjective, and yeah, to a certain extent, it kind of is. But I think there's a certain level of attractiveness that you kind of can get into that it's like, no, black, white, Asian, whatever, that's an attractive person, right? And once you kind of get into that, now your experiences will be different than the majority of people, whether that's a man or a woman.
Yeah, and I agree. I just don't think those statistics are, because I guess what I'm saying is if those statistics are real, then why is it that it's not difficult for not just myself, but the vast majority of my friends to find men that are above 6 figures, above 6 feet, above a 6 on y'all's. I don't like labeling people by numbers. I think it's rude. But I also want to address C-Love is being humble and saying that he's a 6. He's just doing that because he's on live. And you're doing the same thing, Chris. You consider yourself a 10, and C-Love, you consider yourself a 10. You
I don't consider myself a 10.
are both doing this because you're on live.
No, I really don't. Because if I say I'm a 10, that means that implies I have no room to grow.
Okay, well, the most the two of you guys would both give yourselves off camera is a 9, because I know both of you.
Well, look, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I know who God made me to be. I know who He blessed me to be. So I'm not about to downplay myself because that brings God no glory. So no, like I am who He made me to be. So
and God made you a 9, right?
I'm in between 8 and 9. I'm somewhere in between that. Depending on what you like, you know.
C-Love, so you're sticking with a 6.
I said 6.5.
So you think when you walk into the room that there's 35% of the people in the room look better than you?
Well, no, hold on. Wait, when it comes to guys attracting women, it's not as much about looks.
It's not just about
It's not as much about looks. I mean, you guys are both attorneys. You went through law school. You know, you've done a lot of schooling. You know how when you get in exams and then they say, all right, guys, this exam is going to be, 50% of your grade. That's how it is for women. For men, the looks is maybe, 10, 15%. It's not that much.
You guys think it's that low?
I think it's like 35. I say 35. I say 35.
But wait, I'm the woman on here. So aren't I supposed to be able to say what the attract, how much looks matters?
Well, it doesn't matter if you may think that, because what we're going off of is the results
what's the breakdown, Zach?
of people in reality.
So I don't live in reality.
How many? No, it's not saying you don't live in reality. It's just saying that the majority, the average person, the average woman is choosing this characteristic. So how many NFL D-line troll looking people have, a 9 wife, an 8 or 9 wife? Bro, why? It's not because of the looks, and they'll look right past it.
Bro, look at Lil
Jeff
Wayne.
Bezos. Look right past the
Lil Wayne get all the
baddies
and ugly. Okay,
this is not nice. I think we should change the topic. Calling people
how
ugly
is it not nice?
He get all the baddies.
Wait, what's not nice? What do you mean?
Calling people ugly is not nice.
Guys don't care about it as much because we know we're not graded on it as much. The reason it sounds unnice to a lot of women is because they know they're graded on that.
I don't agree with that. Because I also think that when it comes to a person who, I think we have to also define if we're talking about Christians or the world. Because I think from a worldly perspective, I could see what you're saying, where women are mainly focusing on finances of men.
I'm not saying finances,
but
I'm not saying a shallow worldly perspective. I'm saying looking for security. security can come in the from the perspective back in, you know, the Stone Age as tall, big shoulder, protective. You know, today can come in the form of money, can come in the form of wisdom and knowledge or connections. It doesn't necessarily, I'm not putting this as like they're shallow, they're this or that. I just think that they look for different things than men do, and that makes sense because they're looking for someone, especially if they're trying to do it biblically, they're looking for a man that can provide, protect, and lead them, not just be willing to, but also have the ability to do that, if that makes sense.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Some people talk about it like on the red pill stuff sometimes, like some angry guys, they'll be like, man, women just want this. That's bad. It's like that's not necessarily bad.
So
that's how they're wired.
I got a question.
Right. Go ahead.
It's something I've kind of been thinking about. Okay, so we just said that, right? Like what are men kind of graded on or what they look for? And you're married too. But just and C-Love, your perspective as well. Do y'all think like men, because that is what women look for, right? Protector, provider, you know, make money, all this kind of stuff, right? I don't know. Like I feel sometimes that as men, our value is strictly contingent upon those things, right? So it's like if you don't have that, you kind of don't have any value to a certain extent, right? Like I feel like, and that's what makes me think like, bro, women's love for a man is kind of contingent upon those things, right? Like it's very conditional because if I don't move in these aspects, caveat that God created me to operate in, so I understand that. But if I don't move in those and operate in those things, then the love that I'm receiving from a woman may be taken away or is conditional.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like
I think everyone's love is conditional. Because
but why would you
if I
sign
get
up
married
for that?
to a woman, if I get married to a woman, I can love you all I want. But if you cheat on me, I'm out.
Is that biblical?
But why would you sign? But see, look, all I'm saying is, as a man, why would you sign up knowing, like, why would you sign up for something knowing that it's really contingent and conditional based on how I perform? And if I don't perform, now my worth is like.
Well, that shouldn't be the case.
Shouldn't be the case.
But
I
what
don't think
are
it
you
should,
saying?
but
So you're saying practically that's how it plays out oftentimes.
don't you like from when you see it in the world, and obviously we're talking about statistics, it just seems like that most of the times, right? Like it seems like if a man doesn't perform, the love he receives from women in general or his woman is a little bit more conditional than the opposite way.
Well, yes. So I think it's like if I married a woman and she's a certain size when I married her, Chris, and she looked a certain way, and then 2 years into the marriage, 3 years into the marriage, she's gained 50 pounds and she looks extremely different from the way she used to. That's going to be a problem for me, right? Same way as if a woman marries you and you're making X amount of money, and then all of a sudden you're making way less than that. She's going to be looking a little bit different, right? Same concept.
No.
Yeah, but
I just want to say,
why would you want to jump into anything like that?
Can I just say something? Can I just say something? I think a lot of our perspectives are, I mean, not a lot. I think all perspectives and perception is based upon personal experience. And I say to the person who has an issue with his wife gaining weight and has a problem with it, like, did you know what you signed up for, right? Because when a woman gets pregnant and goes through giving birth and, you know, postpartum and finding herself, and I haven't gone through that, but I've seen my friends go through it. It's a journey, and losing 50 pounds doesn't take a month. So if you look at your wife differently because she's gained this weight,
Thanks for the calculator.
is actually not the definition of love. And the same thing goes for a woman who's mad at her husband for not earning say he earned $150,000 and now he's earning $50,000. The love that you give someone, and scripture talks about this, right? Like, it's easy for us to be kind to those who are kind to us, right? The
Right.
challenge is in those moments. And when you sign up for a marriage, you sign up for those moments. You sign up for the journey of the highs and the lows, and refining and helping each other get back to or be better than who you were when you got married. It's not, oh, you're not making X amount of dollars, I'm out of here. Oh, you gained 50 pounds, I'm out of here.
Well, I agree. I think we all agree with that. Here's the only problem.
Most people don't see it.
When we used to go live on Instagram all the time, and divorced women would call in, you know what they would say? They would say financial abuse. He financially abused me. They would say things like that. You know, well, he wasn't really there. Just like Carla said a couple, weeks ago. She said, oh, well, I'm getting a divorce because he doesn't do enough with the kids, and he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do that. And it's not because he's smacking her around every weekend. It's because he's not doing the things that she wanted him to do. And many times, not always, not if they have friends like you, Kelsey, not if they have guy friends like C-Love and Chris, but many times they get advice from their friends saying, and even sometimes from the church saying, it's okay. This is technically him not being the husband for you, and scripture will be twisted, and it'll be like, technically he's not even acting as your husband, so it's okay. And societally, it's not acceptable for a guy to do that with the gaining weight thing, but it's the same standard. It's literally the same thing. It's, she's not doing the things I like, so I get to leave. He's not doing the things I want, so I get to leave. But our society today only, criticizes heavily one of those sides, but I believe they're both wrong, like you said. Kelsey.
But I think today's society does both. I think it's the woman gained too much weight. I think it's the man's not making enough or not doing enough. I think we villainize each other in seasons that are calling us to be there for one another and actually act out our vows. And I think
Yes, I
that's
agree.
what's wrong in today's society.
Yes,
Even
but
cheating is not grounds for just saying I'm over
Right.
and I'm done.
Right.
Right.
But one side gets more what we call in the church grace than the other side. And we just wrap it up in a bow saying, oh, well, we're not really called to call that out. God will handle her. But when a guy does it, it's like, oh, well, he's like the scum of the earth. Like, you see what you did to God's daughter? That's terrible. But then when it comes to what she did to God's son, it's like, oh, she's automatically more of the innocent person, so it's okay. We have a bias. There are biases that we have all the time, but I think the key is recognizing those biases. And I think sometimes in the church, that's one that's going on right now, and it's not recognized like it should be.
Yeah.
I think that men are always going to be held to this higher standard because everything flows from God to the man to the woman. So I think it's expected, unfortunately, that you guys do carry that criticism more than women do. I think women are getting just as much criticism, and Chris and I have talked about it, especially when it comes to like women's expectations when they are overweight and out of shape, and unrealistic expectations that they have, and just different things like
Well,
that. I say all
but-
that to say
Go ahead.
it flows from God to you all than to us. So
But
it is
the fact-
expected you would be criticized more.
But the fact that you said, you talked about the women's standard, the fact that you brought it and said unrealistic expectations when it came to her stuff. And then when it came to the guy stuff, it was,
No, I was
well, this
saying
is
the
God's
woman.
standard.
I was saying the woman has unrealistic expectations of what she should have based upon where she's at.
Exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. You're saying the standard that the women have is unrealistic.
No.
But-
I'm saying
At least that's what I'm hearing.
I'm saying women, and Chris and I have talked about this, right? Like a lot of women, and thank God my camera's off. A lot of women in the church are not, like Chris and I have talked about, and C-Love I think as well, are not playing their part, right? They're not respecting and honoring their temple. They're not taking care of things that they need to take care of
They're out of
before they
shape.
meet their husband, right?
Right.
So then they want the 6-figure 6'2", they want that 3.9 statistic man, but they're unwilling to do the things that they need to do to be appealing to that person, right? So I don't think that women are not being made aware and held to a certain standard. I just think that the focus is on the men. And I think a lot of men in the church are focusing on the men because they want things to get back in order. They want the men of God, because let's just be honest, there's a lot more women in the church than there are men. They want the men of God to start to lead and hoping that the women will follow.
Right. But Kelsey, what you said about, like, you're saying, hey, a lot of these women have unrealistic expectations about, because they're out of shape, but they want an in shape guy that's making this much money. And they think I still deserve this guy, even though I don't look like that. The fact that when you point that out, even in the slightest non-confrontational way, that is still taken as unloving.
Right. Because that,
but then,
it was interesting is like, and I ask people this just from conversations, right? Not diving in, but I ask people, I'd be like, what makes you deserve that? Right? Like, because women and men, but women say all the time, oh, I deserve this, or I deserve this kind of love, or I deserve this, and this. The trips and the Chanel bags and the Mercedes, and I deserve all this. And I'm like, what makes you deserve that? Right? And I'm not saying you don't, but what makes you deserve that? Right? Because as men, we can't just say, oh, I deserve X, Y, and Z. You gotta say, no, I gotta go out and I gotta earn it. Right? I gotta get to that point. I gotta get on that level. I gotta do these certain things to say, no, I can earn that type of lifestyle. Right? It seems like a lot of women are just saying, okay, because I have a good heart and I'm pretty, I deserve this. And it's like, well, what makes you like what? I hate this sound,
Chris, you're absolutely right.
What sets you apart from all the other good Christian women that are doing the same thing?
You're absolutely right, but here's the problem. The generation we grew up in, men and women from childhood were taught very different things.
True.
From childhood, the movies that were aimed at us was becoming something. Was, hey, you've got to become something. Pretty much everyone's favorite movie, at least like almost every black kid's favorite Disney movie growing up, Lion King, right? Simba literally has to go through this journey of traumatic experience. Then he runs to the wilderness and he says, I'm just going to forget all my problems. And then someone comes and says, you've got to grow up. You've got to fall in line and grow into who you're called to be. He's got to go back and face his fears. And then we know what happens, right? Great story. For a lot of the women, it was, when someone will really see and appreciate you for who you are, there was no, I've got to change this thing about me. It's, you're good enough. And the world can change and adjust. And if the world doesn't accept you, the world is the problem, not you're the problem. And so why would we magically think that when they get 20, 30, 40 years old, that we're not, that they're not going to understand that? And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. The people whose fault it is the people that sent those messages out. Because if I were told, or you were told, or any of us guys were told, you're good enough just the way you are, you don't have to change a thing. Or the whole, if he can't accept me at my worst, he doesn't deserve me at my best. If we were told that our whole life, we would be the same way. And so that's, I can't prove it, but that's my hypothesis as to why we see that so much in our generation.
I can, obviously I have a different experience with the way that I was raised. So I think for me to speak on this would only come from like a tremendous amount of bias. So I could see how, generally speaking, that's how women were raised.
Yeah. I mean, and people don't realize this. People think, well, I'm not affected by movies. I'm not affected by music. I'm smart. I think for myself. Programming works. There's a reason why when the stop smoking, stop using tobacco ads came out, smoking rates dropped tremendously among teens and among young adults.
And you can
So
even see like racially too, like when they started promoting certain things with black equals bad, right? Even in the subtle ways, even that subconscious, you might think twice, right? You might grab your
100%.
purse a little tighter. You might do certain things, right? And it you have to actively tear those things down, right? Because if you don't actively change the way you're thinking in those areas, it's not just going to naturally happen.
I mean, look at America and how they manipulate police brutality to make it seem like it's some national crisis of like black people getting killed by the police everywhere, and that's not the case.
Well, I think the main point here is that when messages
And
are
that's a whole
being
nother lie.
here's the main point. It could be anything, right? The fact that 15 years ago, nobody, regardless of your political side, nobody thought a man could be a woman and vice versa. Nobody thought that. It was not a common thing. Now half the country thinks that pretty much. And so it's programming works. My whole purpose in saying all that was that, like I said, the cartoons, the shows that were sent towards women, and even still are today. You look at the Disney movies now, Frozen, and that came out when we were in college, right? You look at Moana and all these other Disney movies. It's all about the princess just accepting how she is. It's never about having to grow. It's never about having to change. And if the biggest multimedia company in the world is promoting that, and we act like it's not going to have an effect on the generation, we're crazy.
I don't know if I agree with that. Like when I think, and
You
I
don't
think
agree with what?
about the way that Disney portrays princesses. I think Disney, and this just is like my perception of watching them. Like Mulan was one of my favorites, and she did a lot. She wasn't just like this princess that just was. She did a lot. And I think about pretty much all of the Disney princesses, they all had a journey. They didn't just sit and wait for their husband to come. Like
exactly. But their journey was let me appreciate who I really am, not actually changing anything negative about themselves. The only negative thing they ever changed about themselves was, oh, well, you know what? Maybe I should just be okay with how I am. Maybe I should. The negative thing about them was they were trying to change something about themselves.
I don't think so.
Okay, let's go through the movies.
I think even when we think about Mulan, right?
Okay,
like
Mulan.
She
she stopped pretending being the guy, and then that's when everyone really accepted her and they tried to do it the girl way, and then she beat the bad guy. I'm a Disney guy, so I can just think these movies.
But this is what I mean when I say, right? It's all about our perception watching it, right? Like two people can watch the same thing and get something totally different out of it. And it's not that different things happened, it's that different things resonated with them that elicited some sort of emotion. So I viewed Mulan as like when I was a girl, is like girls can do anything guys can do, which like obviously in today's world is heavily being pushed, right?
Yes.
But what I will say is she was willing to work for it. So what I took from that as like a woman or a child that was eventually going to become a woman was,
help me understand what you like when you saw that movie. You're saying she realized I'm not good enough. I need to change something about myself and work for it. What was it that she did? Because to my understanding, all she did was
she did training. She did everything. She did everything that the men do.
She stopped trying to do it like a man and did it like a woman. When she had the little rope thing and climbed up and got the arrow, she was like, oh, I was trying to do it the man way. I just needed to do it my own way. I'm smart. And here's the thing. Mulan obviously is, and Mulan's not a princess film. I'm talking about we were talking about the princess films, but Mulan is not a princess film. I love Mulan. I was listening to it in the car today.
Of course you
the
was.
soundtrack, yeah, comes on my Pandora often. But any princess movie, then, you know, since those are about romantic
I
relationships.
honestly
but I
don't
would
even
say
really
even that one.
remember them, to be honest.
Well,
I'm trying to remember.
I would say that you're the outlier then in that situation. You know, there's Pocahontas, same thing.
Oh, I liked Pocahontas.
Okay, what was the message in Pocahontas? I need to stop trying to fit into this culture that everyone's telling me to do. I don't need to marry the guy that's secure and the guy that has his stuff together. I need to go after the colonizer.
white man.
guy.
No, I'm playing.
No,
The
but
white
like
man.
her.
You know,
But
that's
if we
what she
think
had.
about, like, again, this is all perspective because now, like, I'm remembering it. What
Yeah.
I got from that was, again, a strong woman that was willing to create her own path in life, even
That's what
if
she
it
wanted to
wasn't
do
this,
from the
even if
beginning.
it wasn't the standard. But
Yes.
men, and if we're going to compare that to like men, y'all are taught from an early age to be above the standard. So I think
What do you
if
mean above the standard?
so you all are taught like being average isn't enough.
Yes.
Like that's
Like,
not
no, that you're below. You start out at 0 and you've got to work your way up. Every Disney movie, to my knowledge, that I can think of, was that way. Aladdin,
Shoot, every movie.
Tarzan,
Hercules.
shoot, even Toy Story, Hercules.
But the women were the same. The princesses were the same. The
No,
princesses,
they weren't. No, they weren't.
What
It was
about
all
Cinderella?
It was all about them accepting who they were. And Cinderella was made in 1950. That wasn't programmed to our generation. And here's the thing about Cinderella. Cinderella was an interesting one because a lot of women, or a lot of young girls, because they had been programmed
You need a fairy.
in our day and age, it was, well, the thing that was great about Cinderella is a fairy showed up and she was ready to
She
go.
didn't do
And she
nothing.
showed up to the ball and the guy. But in reality, the real message of Cinderella is she was actually working behind the scenes. She was working on her character. She was kind. She was nice. She wasn't this strong woman that's going to make her way happen. And I can do anything a man can do. And I don't need to change anything. She was kind and she was noticed for her kindness and all these kinds of things. And, you know, and she was the most beautiful one at the ball that caught the guy's eye. But I think, like I said, I think that the main issue is the message we are giving that we have given to women. And this falls on the guys too. It's not a women problem. It's a leadership problem. And
Right,
the
because
message,
you wanted to make money. You
Exactly.
want to appeal to the masses and make
like
money.
what's his name? Like a Derek Jackson, right? You are good enough. You don't need to change anything. Yeah, I know
Hey,
you're
bro, you
300
cutting in my
pounds.
message. Relax. No,
Yeah. Yeah, I know you don't need to change anything. If he doesn't like you at 300 pounds and he likes you at 150, that's a problem. What? Are you serious? And Chris, we can talk about this. This kind of leads
so
to
let
the
me
other
ask
thing.
you, like, do you think
Go ahead.
that's a bad thing, or do you just think that should be the same with men as well?
What do you mean
Because
the same
I
with
do
men as
think,
well?
I do think to a certain extent, and take it in a grain of salt, I do think that is somewhat necessary when we are in a marriage, right? Like you need both, right? You do need to call that person and say, look, baby, for example, because it's what we just talking about, you're getting a little big, let's go work out, let's get better because I know where you're operating at your best. I know that's not your best, so let's go get better, right? But still saying, okay, I get it. You had an off year. I'm not going nowhere, right? I'm still here. I'm still going to love you, but I'm going to call you up. So I'm just saying we need both versus just saying it's all, no, you trash, I'm leaving, bye. Or saying, no, this is like anything short of the standard is unacceptable when I'm leaving. Does that make sense?
I think I get what you're saying.
So
Are
I'm
you
saying
saying
in a marriage, right? Men looking at women and women looking at men. We need to have a certain type of level of conviction, right? To say, I'm committed to you, good, bad, ugly, and everything in between.
Yeah.
However, on that same note, I'm also so committed to you that I'm going to call you up and raise the standard and require you to be your best self.
Here's the
right?
problem. Here's the problem. As a married man, I will tell you the problem with that. And my wife would attest to this. If your entire life you've been told you're good enough and you've never been told, hey, we need to work on this. Someone saying, hey, we need to work on this sounds like you're terrible. You're the worst thing in the world. You're this, you're a disgrace, all this kind of stuff. It's like, I mean, we've all been there. It's like the kid who's the star on the team that the coaches love. He's the coach's favorite. And then one day he gets chewed out and he's crying. And you're like, really?
Right.
So, I think the if you can find a woman in this generation that can take some accountability when it's thrown at her in a way where she still sees it as, he's saying this because he loves me. He doesn't hate me. He's saying this because he loves me. And she can hold herself
Can
to
we be honest, Zach?
accountability.
If
That's rare.
No, true. But if you're a mature Christian and you've been walking with God, you should understand that principle, because best believe God gonna do that to you.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
I agree. But to say mature Christian is a subjective term that people throw around often.
Okay, hold on. Let me tell you. When I say mature
Instagram
Christian, I mean
from God's
understanding that
standards.
principle that God is going to throw some things to your way to say unacceptable, that ain't gonna hurt, that's gonna cut, this gotta hurt, this gotta, like, God's gonna do that. So if you haven't even been through that process in your own life, in your own spiritual walk, there's no way, I believe, there's no way you'll be able to do that with a husband.
Sometimes sometimes people think they've been through that. But I agree. I agree with you.
Once you've been through it, you know clearly you've been through it. It ain't but yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. C-Love, what do you think about this? Like, so, yeah, what do you think about the programming, all that kind of stuff? And
No, I mean, I agree with you, Zach. But I also agree with Chris too when he talks about how, specifically in a marriage, you should be there for your partner, right? Because, I mean, hey, there's gonna be times where people get sick or something happens, right? They might get cancer, might be bald headed for a while, might have to cut some titties off. I mean, anything can
Cut titties off is actually wild.
Anything can happen.
That could happen.
Anything can happen. It can happen, right? And it's like, are you going to leave that person because of that? Biblically speaking, you're not supposed to leave. You're supposed to stay there through sickness and through health, right? So, I mean, having a little bit of both, I don't think is bad, but helping change the things that they can change is good too, right? So, I agree with that.
Well, here's another thing that I'll say that may be a little controversial, and I was going to say this about the pregnancy, bouncing back, all that kind of stuff. My wife's been pregnant 3 times. Well, she's pregnant now, so this is the 3rd time. But she's bounced back like that. And she bounced back like that from some pushing on my end to a level that wasn't comfortable for her, that other people said was unloving and all this other kind of stuff. But then 2 months later, they're like, you're so lucky. You just bounced back. Everybody's not as blessed as you. And she's like, no. This was uncomfortable. I didn't want to do it in the moment, but I'm glad he pushed me to do it. And then most people haven't been through that kind of thing before. And I would say, especially most women, especially in our culture, they've been coddled. And so because they can see 7 other women that are like, yeah, well, she's out of shape too. So it's normal. It's okay. I'm supposed to, be at risk for, diabetes every time I get pregnant. Yeah. That's not normal. It's normal because everyone else is doing it now, and we've lowered the standards so low. And so I don't buy that, when other people say, from a scientific standpoint, I don't buy. My body's just different now. And it's so many people saying that. My body's just different now. And then I look at the things those people do, and they have cravings for sweets and stuff during pregnancy. And then these people who are doing different things are getting different results. Generally, not everybody. There's obviously some people that fall in the opposite ends of the spectrum and they really can't control it. But I think that too often they'll use these extreme cases to justify why they are not where they really could be.
Zach, but we're talking about lifestyle, right? And like, let's just be very clear. Joelle bouncing back fast was a direct result of her lifestyle. Like, fitness is your lifestyle. Fitness is a part of your being for the both of you. So Joelle going rogue during a pregnancy and just eating like crazy and gaining all this weight wasn't going to happen. And I'm not saying she didn't.
No, it
gain
wasn't
weight,
going to happen because she's married to me.
Right.
But it's also
Zach,
right.
No.
Those other
And I'm not.
people-
Here's the thing. I'm not saying. She's the one that did the work. I didn't like drag her
Of
off
course,
the
of
couch.
course.
But I did make it very uncomfortable to say, "Hey, we're not laying around all day. You know, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing
Zach,
that."
this sounds so bad, but I know.
No,
that
Why
you're
does this?
coming-
Why does it? But here's the
I
thing.
know
Why
that
does
you're
it sound?
coming-
Why
I know
does
that
it sound
you're
bad?
coming-
It only sounds bad because we've coddled women. If a guy
And it's the
was
same thing
laying
with your
around,
kids.
if a guy was laying around, he wasn't going to work, he wasn't providing financially in the way that he used to,
Yeah.
and then the woman was calling him out, it would be
He was
like
bumming,
that's
he-
normal.
I
It's
think
too
what
different.
it is, right? I think what it is, and this just like, I'm saying it sounds bad from a perspective of people that don't have the dynamic and don't have the lifestyle that the two of you have. If somebody was just a sit on the couch potato their entire life, right?
It's gonna hurt.
And they were able to maintain, say, like, you know, they weren't obese, but they weren't in great shape. And then they got pregnant and became obese, right? They're not bouncing back like that. They're just not. It's going to probably take 2 or 3 years. And I would say
It won't.
no, Zach, the vast majority of Americans are overweight. So like, let's just leave it at that. The vast majority of women in America are overweight. So they're not bouncing back, quote unquote, like that. They're not bouncing back in a month.
Because they're choosing not to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's lifestyle.
But it's also not having someone to push you. I know that I wouldn't have gotten to certain areas that I've gotten to if someone wasn't there pushing me. I even know that I wouldn't have been the person I was in college, sports wise, whatever, if I wasn't trying to compete with Chris. So you could get to the weight room first early in the morning at like 4:30 a.m. and stuff like that. I wouldn't be that.
Yeah.
And so I agree that sometimes there is like this person's naturally just gifted, but there's a reason why Paul says bad company corrupts good character. There's a reason why you're an average of the 5
says
people you
iron
hang
sharpens
around.
And I agree.
Iron sharpens iron. So
But when
I
you-
agree with you. I'm just saying, I think that a lot of it, and she would even say a lot of it is because in those moments where she has been, I'll say it like this. I see many husbands don't do it the way I'm doing it.
But are they in shape?
And sometimes they are, yes. And they just
have
don't,
their wives been in shape?
yes.
Zach,
And
Zach,
they just don't like the fact they are not, you know what? I don't want to deal with the fight. And I'm okay with dealing with the fight if I have to sometimes.
Zach, can we be a little transparent?
Depends on how transparent we're going to be.
Just a little bit, right? So, like, I even remember, like, and we got to take, as a man, I think you also have to look at yourself in situations like that, right? Because I remember we've had talks as like, okay, what is the best way to approach this situation, right?
Yes.
Because, for example, and I remember we had this conversation, Joel's not me, right? You can get on my behind when we was playing, and I'm gonna be like, nah, bro, like you ain't about to get me in X, Y, and Z, and it's gonna motivate me. Somebody that's never been in those high pressured situations from playing college ball or whatever, they may not respond that immediately. So you may have to tailor it in such a way that they can receive it a little less offensive, if that makes sense. Not saying you gotta sugarcoat it, not saying you gotta not say it.
Yeah.
But the delivery may have to change a little bit from that man to say, look, baby, this is the goal, this is where I know you're at, this is X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. How help me help you, right? And let's get to this goal versus just saying, Like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it just like both sides have to be willing to be kind of a little bit uncomfortable, not a little bit, have to be uncomfortable in order to achieve those specific goals, whatever they may be.
No,
Is that fair?
That makes sense. I agree with that. And that proves the point that like they're not used to having that type of thing because of how our society's coddled them. I'm gonna see if I can add Justin in as well, real quick.
I think that's why like it's good to have like, women to play sports, right? Because hey, look, big LSU fan, right? So like I look at, Kim Mulkey and how she gets on those girls, man. She not just calling you. Like she said, this is the standard. If you're not balling to that standard, you're gonna get benched. Right. And certain players either fall in line or they dip. Right. I could think of a player that came in at LSU. She was under a lot of pressure. She didn't like it. She transferred somewhere else, and now she's doing her thing. But it's just like, are you willing to kind of take that tough love sometimes,
Right. Did he take himself off?
I don't know. Did he?
Oh, there we go. We can have 5, I guess. Okay. Justin, what's your thoughts on this, man? I'm gonna take myself off so you can fill up the screen, but go ahead.
Yeah, what's up, Chris and Kels? I wanted to add, I'm a medical student, by the way. And based off of, this is just scientific information that we have to learn for schooling. Based off the American College of Obstetrics, I can't even say it, OB-GYN, basically. People who deal with pregnancies and birth and women and all that type of stuff, women's health. The guidelines for pregnancy, if you're underweight, like anorexic, the max you should gain throughout pregnancy is 40 pounds. It's 28 to 40 pounds. But if you're like normal weight, which is BMI less than 25, the recommended weight gain is 25 to 35 pounds max. So people who are gaining more than that is not part of the natural, that's not even part of the, how I say, recommended physician, regulation in terms of how much weight you should gain at that time. So if you're gaining 50, 60, 70 pounds, that's unhealthy. Like, that's not like a natural, this is just human body. The people who study the human body telling you this is the recommended weight gain based on statistics on health outcomes, gestational issues that occurs when you gain too much weight. So there is some there's some objective information that we should hold on to and not just let people be called, because there is this, I agree with y'all with especially with the sense of like some women being like coddled at certain aspects of things. And we need to remember, like, they're adults as well. Like, women are adults, they're not children. I hear the sentiment, like, they're adults, they have full autonomy, they should be told what is the best for them. And of course, the delivery matters, but like, let's not be too weak to not bring this up, let women know what is best for them, what's healthy for them. That's what I wanted to add with that. So while it does sound like it is about a lifestyle, and the whole snatch back thing perspective, I think it's completely possible. Like, as long as you're getting your workouts in, you're walking, you're exercising, you're eating right, you can lose the weight. This isn't like the facts just stuck on the body. Like, that's ignorance. That is not medical science. That's not based on any literature. That's just common ignorant speak of like, I can't lose the weight because I got pregnant. No, the weight can be lost. Calorie restriction, proper diet, and proper nutrition, getting fiber, etc., and moving, getting your steps in. All these things are very critical, losing weight in general. And
but like you said, but it also starts in the mind, right? Like, if you don't think it's possible, if you don't believe you can do it, it don't matter what the science says, right? Because your mind is going to dictate your actions, and your actions is going to dictate your actual lifestyle of what you do. So if a person has been trained their whole lifestyle, just eat. It don't matter. This is how I am. This is what I'm made. I'm never going to be X, Y, and Z, right? Then you feed into that more and more and more. Well, now you got this stronghold on your mind to where when somebody does present the information or the workouts or the opportunities or give you a lifestyle so that you can work out 3 times a day, you're not even gonna receive it.
I agree with that. I agree with that. That's tough, and that's where this, the Spirit of God, the Holy Ghost, comes in and helps you with that process of reorienting your mind the way you think. Because you can't just be stuck on that. Because I agree with you. There's certain habits that we all have that are not the healthiest, but if we're able to humble ourselves and know that we do not know everything, we have a lot to learn. We've only been on earth for how many years we've been on here. God he knows the beginning of the end of our journey, and we have the autonomy to make proper decisions to change and to actually treat our bodies like a temple. And like there's so many aspects in terms of health and how important that is tied to your spiritual health, your physical health. And just neglecting that because you were raised. I'm not trying to negate that. The strongholds that have been built because of the decades or your whole life experience, but you're still alive, you're still breathing, you can still change.
You still got an opportunity, no doubt.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you said, Justin, about women being adults, right? Like, I get where Chris is coming from. They're not men, so maybe there is a way that you can deliver a message, but at the same time, they're still adults and they're not children, right?
Exactly.
Because I'll tell you one thing: if you were out of a job and you're at some woman's house or whatever, and you're on the couch and you're not working, and she's getting up going to work, and every day she walks by, she sees you still in the bed. Eventually, she's not gonna hold back on her message for you. She's gonna be like, you need to get your ass up, go to work, and like find a job, do something. Like she gonna let you know. She ain't gonna hold back on you. So I mean, women can be cruel in that way. So remember, they are adults and they're not children. We don't have to coddle every single message. Hey, can you please lose some weight, babe? Please. Like,
okay, hold on. I didn't say that now. Relax. But no, I figure.
I was just gonna say, if your wife is talking to you crazy, and like scripture talks about like the nagging wife, so it's like context, like how you talk to people does matter. So you don't have to say it how you just said it, Selah, but anything that you say needs to be delivered with tact. So if you lost your job and your wife was coming to you crazy about losing your job, she's in the wrong as well. So I think bottom line, how you deliver messages matters. And Justin, I agree with you because like I was saying before, I just think that your lifestyle is really going to play the biggest part in your pregnancies. I think it carries over tremendously. Like if you are somebody who just lacks self-discipline, you're going to lack self-discipline in your pregnancy. And if you're someone who makes excuses, you're going to make excuses when you're pregnant and post-pregnancy. So
yeah, true.
Justin, you made some really good points. And I think, and I agree with everything everybody said. I think we're missing like the root of some of the problem that at least I think I'm seeing as the root of some of the problem, which is, yes, if someone doesn't have self-control, if they don't have accountability, if they don't have all these things, they can't take responsibility for the weight they've gained or whatever, we're just using that example, then that's going to be a problem. It's going to be hard to coach them, guide them, and lead them. But here's what we keep coming back to. Most women in our society today grew up without any of that. And so it makes it very difficult for guys when they try to do that, even if the message is tactful or any of these types of things, it's not being received. It's being rejected. And even the world will tell those people that's just unloving.
That's tough. I agree. I agree with like the environment aspect. Because even guys who like say, oh, I didn't really resonate with like movies or Disney movies that really shaped how I was operating. Because I watched all the movies that you discussed, but I don't feel like I reoriented my life because of that, or that made a stronger enough impact, except for like a few, like maybe one or two movies. But I agree, because even if you didn't have that, we still had coaches, we still had teachers who like gave us the real, like, we're very blunt, and and just that's tough because I never even thought about that for like girls. They don't even get that experience of just raw, especially if they don't have a father in their life or like a uncle
I
or
got it. I'll say I got it.
who'd
But
you
your
get it
dad
from?
was that for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you didn't have a dad in your life or like somebody father figure, that's where I feel like a lot of
Well, yeah.
dysregulation occurs.
And if you know Kelsey, she's a bit of an outlier. Like her upbringing is a lot different from most. So she's an outlier.
I just don't
But
want
I
to put
think
too much emphasis on the movie thing. Like programming does work. There's just so much more than just the movies. Like we are living, we go to school every day. We live with people, our family. Movies do have an element, like, but I hear when y'all use that example sometimes, and I'm like, I think you're putting too much weight on that, honestly, to a certain
so.
extent.
So it's I hear what you're saying, but the the artists of a society mold have taken the place of the pastor, have taken the place of the Bible teacher. They are the people deciding and what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty much preaching to people what is right, what is wrong. If that's not the case, how else does our society go from accepting something to not accepting something, or vice versa, in the span of like 5 years? And the only thing to correlate it to is like the media. Because it's not, for example, the men and women thing, trans thing. I mean, how else can you explain those type phenomenons? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because think about it like this. I would say that so we have lawmakers, right? Lawmakers make the laws. The laws, come to pass. We all have to abide by them. Certain programs get pushed. That's what happens. How are the lawmakers chosen? They're chosen by the voters, right? Now, what determines what the voters vote for and choose? The messages that they hear, the value system that they've adopted. Now, how did they come to their value system? By, like I said, the messages that they've been given. I guarantee you today, majority of the messages that children are getting, and even I would even say early 2000s, children were getting, teens were getting, young adults were getting, is not the pastor and the parents. It's media, it's music, it's movies, it's TV shows, it's celebrity culture, more than grandma, grandpa, things like that. So that's why I would say it has more of an impact than I think we think it does. Because even think about it like this: at school, the cool person, or the person that the students try to be like, isn't the teacher saying the lesson. The person they're trying to be like is the cool kid in the classroom. And when the cool kid's seen a certain movie or listens to certain music or does certain things, if everyone else doesn't fall in line, or if someone doesn't fall in line and everyone else is doing it, that kid is ostracized. That kid's pushed out, So I think it has a big impact. I'm not saying it's the only impact, but I think it has an impact. And I think that parents, have kind of have not been as protective as I think they should have when it comes to that topic, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I guess I was just saying the movies part. I completely agree with you in terms of the social media, this media. If you brought it into this media in general, I 100% agree with you. I was just saying the movies element. I was like, maybe that's how you related it to it, but I agree. Social media, Instagram, Twitter, all that definitely has made a huge, like, dramatic cultural change in this country and the world. So I 100% agree with everything you said.
Okay, I get what you're saying now. So you're saying it's not specifically movies uniquely that affect children in that way. And that's what you were taking it as. That's
Right.
what you understood as. I get what you're saying.
I also wanted
But
to add what Chris still here?
yeah, I think he's just off camera for a second.
Okay, I
Yeah,
actually wanted to respond back to what he said earlier, like a few 30 minutes ago, with in regards to it's still this topic on terms of if a guy loses his job, it's more harsh. Like his wife might be more harsh on him, but um if she loses weight, whatever, then like, or no, not lose weight, she gains weight and she doesn't, she's not healthy, then it's looked down upon if he's harsh. But honestly, I guess we're just negating it. I guess what I'm trying to say, the negative feedback, or the negative feedback that we show is going to be expressed differently based off, the husband or wife. On the negative feedback the wife might get from that is he might not be as affectionate towards her, or might not give as much compliments, and might not love her as much as he did when she was at her best self, mentally or physically. That still probably hurts. I don't know if I can, scale how much it hurts, but that's still damaging, as just like, your wife's telling you how like broke you are, like how you're unmotivated. I think we're just ignoring like some of the attributes and it just happens if she's just not, if she's just negative all the time and just not not treating her body well, and the husband's going to respond in a way that's not going to be conducive. Maybe it's not going to, I just don't, just based off general, if we want to just do generality, I don't think there's scenarios where like the husband's healthy, whatever, and then the wife would just let herself go, and like he treats her just like he did when he found her, or when they were just newly married. I think we're just ignoring those elements as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I meant it in a way that men just, they do that every single time. It's just, I don't know. I see it more just the opposite of if a man is not necessarily performed. I mean, because let's keep it honest, especially like biblically, we're taught as men to, die for your wife, right? I don't see, I mean, obviously they're not called to die for us, right? So I see more as like, okay, well, I got to do everything in my power, even if I don't. And, I mean, I know Zach, he spent many hours trying to debunk or searching to debunk the whole happy wife, happy life thing, right? And everything is kind of geared toward the woman happiness and everything like that. And it kind of puts the man off. It's like, nah, bro, like you just got to suck it up and keep making it happen, right? So that's what I was kind of getting at, is like, if you don't perform as a man, if you don't provide, if you don't protect, if you don't do all these things, your value is not necessarily seen in the same way, right? And I'm not saying that women don't experience those things in relationships and stuff too, but it just seems like because that is the standard and what God calls us to do in all these different things, it just seems like sometimes it can get the reverse effect of that, if that makes sense.
So you're basically saying that from a societal standpoint, we don't accept if a man isn't really doing his part, but if a woman's not doing her part, there's like an understanding and like, okay, well, she's not perfect. Where's the grace? But when a guy's not doing his part, it's not as acceptable.
I think sometimes there is maybe a more of a grace that comes with that, right? And because a man, I have to die to myself and be delicate and do all those things, there is more grace that comes with that, right?
But wouldn't you say that as a society, though, if someone has a lower standard and someone else has a higher standard that they're called to, there would be more grace given to the person with the higher standard?
You would think.
As a society. And so that's why I just think that, and I don't think it should be that way. I think that it should be, I'm not saying that it should be even. I don't think that it should be even. I think that there's different levels of responsibility. But what I will say is I think our society, and it's crept into the church, has, like Justin said and like C Love said, treated women like children instead of adult women. Women don't need to be, talked to like men in the same way that you expressed, Chris, about like, you're getting on me. and that's going to inspire me, and you're going to talk to me like another man, and we're going to go back and forth, and then you're going to push me to another level. Not going to work for a woman in the same way. Get that. But the idea that they're children, and the thing that's unique about children is children can't handle certain levels of truth because they're too young. You have to shield them from the truth sometimes. Women are still adults. And I think we blurred the lines of treating them not as men to treating them as women. I mean, treating them as children that literally can't handle truth. And I think that's why people were so happy and attracted to Kevin Samuels, and why so many women hated Kevin Samuels. It's not the fact that he would do the you know, in all the extra little stuff on the side. It's the fact that he even said the truth. The fact that he even suggested the idea that a single mom with like 10 kids and is like over 400 pounds will likely not marry a millionaire is, you know, it was like, you can't touch on that. You can't talk about mistakes she's made and how she's made her life a certain way. You can't talk about how certain ideologies have, you know, infiltrated, you know, our the society and are lying to our women. We can't call those things out because our society is labeled as unloving and an untouchable topic. And I think the fact that he did that is what a lot of people respected about him. I don't think that every time he did stuff for show and all that was good or the best way to go about it. But the fact that he even crossed that line that so many people and even good men refused to cross, I think that specifically was respectable. And that's what I think, you know, that's why I think a lot of women hated him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything he did, or everything he taught, everything he said. I want to put that out there in case anyone like years from now clips that part up and says, see, he loved Kevin Samuels. You know, I'm not saying that, but I think that there's a time and a place for accountability. And I think that pastors aren't doing it. And if pastors didn't drop the ball, there wouldn't be opportunities for guys like him, Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, and all these other people, because pastors aren't doing it. So it's their fault. It's their problem.
Well, guys, after 2 hours and 30 minutes, I'm at the.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. We'll be on for another 3 hours. So, all right, I'll see you guys. I think we can go ahead and call it, unless Kelsey you wanted to say something.
No, we'll end on a good note. Bye, guys.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll end on a good note with her not saying anything. That means it's a good note, I guess, right? I'm just playing. Thank you, everybody, for hopping on. Justin, thanks for hopping on. I'm glad the link worked this time.
Yep.
So,
yes, sir.
Anybody on Instagram, feel free to hop on next time. Everybody that watched on YouTube, Todd, thanks for sticking with us this whole time. And we appreciate the comments. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to let you clip this up. Let me go ahead and clip this up. So we'll see you guys in another 2 weeks. We try to do this every couple weeks, every Thursday. So if you haven't already subscribed, follow us on Instagram. We'll see you guys next time.